Hey everybody, I'm just getting my coffee here. I will be right there. Hello, hello, hello. I would have had my coffee ready in time, but I got distracted by a small chew.
Yes, I am the Lord.
5 whole years.
Yo, Richie, thank you for 60 months. 5 whole years. Ohio Democrat, thank you for 13 months. Igloo Animal, thank you for 28 months. How y'all doing?
Yes, I am the Lord.
Oh no, Big Law. Missed the biggest holiday of the year. Well, at least there's always a 420 every day. Twice a day. At least you still got that. I mean, you can celebrate anytime. But I get you. I get you. Yeah, just don't ever celebrate anything. You can't lose. God, yeah. Weed being illegal is one of the things that I was referring to when I said on Twitter the other day that I was despairing about things that, like, we know the answers and we can't change. I feel bad for the people who have been fighting that fight the entire time that it's been on. The people who've been on the entire drug war ride, you know? Yeah, this is Master Boot Record, the Virtuaverse OST. I hadn't heard of Master Boot Record before Craig had handed me this album, and I fell in love with their stuff pretty much entirely. Check them out on YouTube. There's a lot of really good covers. Particularly, they've got a Doom cover or two that I really enjoyed. Well, the thing that really irritates me is that, yes, it's nice that it's creeping along, becoming legal. But what about all the people in prison? Why is that not first? That should be the first thing. That should be a high priority. Honestly, weed being illegal has been a joke for decades in terms of people's awareness. I mean, like, there was always this sort of attitude about it, right? Like, yeah, but it's not so bad unless you're selling it. Like, why? Why? It's always infuriated me. No, I know. I mean, it's been a joke, but I'm talking about public perception here when I say that. It's from the beginning, it's always been a lie. But in terms of public perception, what's bothersome is that it became this thing where it's like everybody kind of like, yeah, it's illegal, but we all do it, you know. And meanwhile, there's people that have lost their, you know, livelihoods, families, or lives entirely over something that's just arbitrarily illegal because it was a political move to have a reason to throw hippies and minorities in prison. And that hasn't been fixed. Despite this, you know, finally it's becoming legal. I feel like that should be fixed first. Yeah. It irritates me so much that we know that that's a fact because they admitted it and said it plainly. And it's still the way it is. It's still the way things are. Sometimes I wonder about stuff like that. Like, what do we have to do? Do we have to give up everything we care about? Quit our jobs? Quit doing whatever it is that we're doing? And, like, just march around to everybody who denies this stuff is reality and just constantly shout it at them until they change? What do we have to do? Oh man, if that blows you away, I have bad news, Big Law. I have bad news for you. Yeah. That's been going on. How long have cops existed? Yeah. Uh-huh. Yes. If only we had a handy acronym for describing such a thing. But I see where you're going with this. Oh no, my internet. Oh well, I guess it was just a blip. I have to say, ever since that guy visited me, the internet has been tolerable. No, I didn't get the full context, Candor. I know that there was something. Somebody, was it Kurt or was it Justin and Chibley? Somebody got fucked by a borderline. And then just before I went live here, I saw somebody shared a screenshot of Kurt, and it said like redemption. Was this in Memers? I don't can't find it now, but it was another shot of like a borderline. So I'm assuming. No, is this a totally different thing? Okay, cool. Then no, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, was he? Well, I'm not surprised. To be honest, I never knew that Kurt had real strong political feelings. And I don't say that as a dig or anything like that at all. It's just that Kurt is in the past, at least to me, he was sort of like oh yeah, look at that. That's awesome. That's a great shirt. What a good shirt. Holy shit. Um from my perspective, he always kind of kept anything like that real close to the cuff. Um and then I noticed this past year uh on his Twitter and stuff, he's been pretty outspoken, and I was like, hell yeah. Fuck yeah, dude. Raise a fist. I also kind of kept stuff, bottled up too, but I think everybody kind of broke. you know? I feel fine. Let's make a game, shall we? Seemed like the perfect segue. Ah, nice, Cone. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, my second one should be coming up here. Me and Nakomi's, I think, end of the month. Well, I don't know. I mean, Zuria, you probably saw the game idea that I shared the other day, but born out of similar frustrations and stuff, I started thinking about making an extremely sardonic dark sim, essentially a simulator game, kind of in the vein of like DEF CON, if any of you are familiar with that. If you're not, DEF CON was a game about um, nuclear war, or it was really about mutually assured destruction. And
Yes,
it's a game
I
you
am the
basically
Lord.
can't win because
Nice.
once missiles are in the air, there's everyone dies. Um, and I was thinking of this idea of doing sort of a similar thing but around climate change, where there's sort of a death clock, and your objective is to try to do anything that you can using whatever's available, like um, current technologies, like, oh, we're gonna use more nuclear, da 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 da. But at the same time, there's an AI that is constantly working against you by like corrupting politicians, lobbying, and da 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 da. And just basically, whatever you do, eventually your time is going to run out, and then the simulation takes over and plays out the destruction of humanity. And just extremely sardonic, like as things progress, there's like maybe some sort of a ticker or commentary or some kind along the way. That I think one of the examples I gave in the game dev channel was like you get like a notice that's like sea levels have risen, 0.5% along the coast, and 3 right wing AM radio stations were destroyed. That sort of thing.
Yes, I am the Lord.
Pride Pog.
Television, thank you for 40 months. And then Nee jumped into that conversation, as well as Candor. And we came up with, if you did the opposite, it could also be very humorous. If you had a game that is, you play the bad guy, so you would basically play like the 10%. And it would be sort of like, it would be like a simulation tycoon type of game. But instead of building factories or roads or barracks or things like that to advance, resources are already kind of coming in. That kind of comes for granted. And then you make choices like you're the one who's like buying people off and installing like the son of an oil tycoon as the head of the EPA, and then like the EPA effectiveness rating would go down, and you're just always working against whatever, like any forces that would be against you that would like stop the climate from changing or whatever. You're making it happen. I think both ideas seem really compelling. But actually making any sort of a game of my own is still a far off, distant dream. Unless I start learning what the fuck I'm doing. So that's one that I've written up and thrown in the old game idea database.
Okay, last time we made these
Oh, right. This is the one with the horrible wind.
Enemy class. A little dumb enemies no longer work, I believe. So
I'll try to get through this one quickly, y'all.
I also have a couple of things I need to
see
fix
how
that
long
we
it
pointed
is.
out. One is
Oh, God,
that,
Tom. Oh, Lord.
somebody has had a bug where you can pick up the shotgun multiple times from the same shotgun, and it's because the way we do pickups is on a collider, and when you enter that collider, the player collides that collider, you pick it up.
Alright.
But the shotgun has
We're gonna
three
deal with this,
colliders
it'll be
on it,
fine.
and they're all children of something that has a weapon component on it, so in theory you can hit all three in one frame and trigger that 3 times. So that's not how it should work, is it? Let's fix that. The fix for that, I think, is just let's have the collider be on the weapon itself, not on the child. Because the child, it's good that having 3 cylinders on the shotgun is a good thing. It looks right, and we wouldn't want to restrict ourselves from being able to do stuff like that. Those things will come with colliders when you create 3D shapes, but we don't want those colliders, really. I did think about this. I thought about giving us a general collider shape for the weapon, for all weapons. It's the same for everything, which is good and consistent. It's a decent impulse. I resisted it at the time because I thought, well, actually, if it happens to be, the collision volume precisely matches the look of the weapon, that seems like an upside, really. You'll never see it get picked up when it shouldn't. But actually, this is something that's worth just standardizing because
you didn't think it
players
through, Tom.
expect all weapons to pick up at about the same range, and also we're going to be generous. And generally, when you're erring in the player's favour, they're not going to mind. So if a weapon gets picked up a little bit sooner than they expected it to, they're not going to be annoyed about that. So on our weapon in the prefab, make sure everything in prefab and not one of the instances. Add component, and I'm just going to type the word collider. And I guess we'll do a capsule collider, right? Oh no, let's do a spherical collider. A sphere collider. Which basically, that'll mean just whenever you go within a certain radius from any direction, you'll get it. Obviously, when it gets created, we see a problem here. It's in the wrong place relative to the visual thing. That's because the weapon's origin is where it's going to align with the player's origin when you're holding it, which means the weapon itself is in front of its own origin.
Wait,
it's tempting to drag this arrow, isn't it? You really want to drag this arrow, that's not going to fix it. Align with the player's origin. On our weapon, in the prefab, make sure everything in prefab and not one of the instances. Add component,
right.
And I'm just going to type the word collider. And I guess we'll do a capsule collider, right? Oh no, let's do a spherical collider. A sphere collider. Which basically, that'll mean just whenever you go within a certain radius from any direction, you'll get it. Obviously, when it gets created, we see a problem here. It's in the wrong place relative to the visual thing. That's because the weapon's origin is where it's going to align with the player's origin when you're holding it, which means the weapon itself is in front of its own origin. It's tempting to drag this arrow, isn't it? You really want to drag this arrow, that's not going to fix it. Let's see what happens if I do that. So I'm not going to do that. There are this collider, because it's a component of this game object, the way you move it is a bit different. We just have to find these properties here. The sphere collider component we just added, it's got center properties, and remember this blue arrow is our Z dimension, that's forwards, so we can just drag that Z dimension to the roughly matches the thing. And we can even, the radius is 0.5, let's just make it 0.6, just to kind of be safe. Like I say, it's good to err on the player's favour here. And then the next thing we do is go to the cylinder that currently has the collider on it, and take that off. So we click this little cog next to it, and we can just say remove component. It's gone now. Still looks like a cylinder because it's still got the cylinder mesh filter and the mesh renderer. And that's it for the weapon prefab. That should have fixed it on all of the ones where we don't actually care, because usually the rifle only have one collider in the first place, so they won't have this bug. But they all have their sphere colliders and they're the right size. Shotgun has one too, so that'll work, but we
Oh, right.
to remove the cylinders. We also need to remove the colliders from the two other cylinders, because the shotgun
Oops.
it's a custom one, so it has the cylinders bolted on.
Right. All right. I can. We can fix this. It's fine. It's fine. It's not that complicated. Where's my weapon? This one here. Okay. Sphere collider. 1 and... Ooh, 0.6. One's a little far forward, isn't it? 9, 5. Perfect. Beautiful. And then just turn that off. I presume probably turn that on, right? Just remove the collider altogether. How about that? Let's see what that did. Oops. Okay, well that's all right. So no problem. No problem. Just get rid of that one. Oh, sick. That actually... Nope. It did for the one that was the same, but not for the others. That makes sense. What about you? Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, okay. I mean, all right. I guess that's never going to be perfect, is it? Because of how we've done this, but that's all right. That's okay.
To it that are not part of the prefab, so we can try those individually. Just top those off. And then we'll click play. Just want to check that worked. There's a difference here. Yep, I know what I've got to do. The shotgun is blocking me, and the reason for that is if we open up the prefab, I forgot to check his trigger, because we don't actually want these to collide with things, we want them to trigger.
Let's see if mine works. Because I did turn that on. At the rifle. Right. Let's see if we get... I know we won't, but see if we get a whole bunch of shotguns. Wow. Nope. Everything works. I thought we would have to change the code, like where we were looking for the collider or whatever, but that code was very general, so this still works fine. God, it's almost like a game. Isn't that neat? They get very stupid when they get near a wall. Pow. Pow. Boom. Bam. So good. Yeah, they are like Roombas. I like when you do a shallow angle with the rifle, the bullets actually ricochet off. Oh, we're gonna go much further than this. I actually checked out the latest. This tutorial is actually not over. It's still in creation. It's like 23 or 24 episodes long at the moment. Over a year in the making. And it's still going. And we're about halfway through it. So we're going to catch up to Tom before he finishes this.
I had that set on the other colliders, but I forgot. And now pick it up. So let me just... That works now, which is good. But I just want to check. Yeah, I just want to point out something, because we actually did some special code to make sure that it would find the component even if the collider is not on the same actual game object. Like if the collider is on a child of the component that has the game object that has the component on it, we'll find it by doing this get component in parent thing. And you may have been surprised that we didn't need to change that. It already works. Get component in parent, I thought, and it seems I'm right, will work even if the component actually is on the very same game object that you're checking. So we don't need to change that. We could if we want to do, but I think it's might as well leave it as is. It really means find it in the current thing or its parent. In a sense, isn't everything its own parent? No, don't listen to me. That doesn't help at all. Okay, there's one more thing. This one is actually something I wanted to know the answer to last time, and then I realised I already know the answer, which was I was seeing some faint light leak, I would describe it as, let's find our obstacle here, and go to scene view. I pressed F to focus on it. If we move this over here so that we get a shadow like that, and let's just, don't do this yourself, but I'm just going to briefly disable all the enemy behaviors to see if I can make it just stay still. Because what I want to show is, no, I'm not seeing it anymore. Okay, but there was like a faint leak of light where things that should be blocked weren't being blocked. Or it was blocking like most of the light, but not all of it. And maybe I can replicate it here. Yeah, there you go. And the way I'm replicating this will give you a clue as to what it is. So I was saying like this last episode, and that was really annoying because it's like, you kind of got the right behavior, but there's just this weird like half measure here where you know it's blocked, but you're still showing some light. And what's really happening is Unity has different quality levels for lighting depending on how close you are to the light. So it's using it all its full lighting flashiness when you're close up to it. When you're far away, if I go far enough away, there's no occlusion at all of lighting, it just shows the light, which is just cheaper for it to do. And the reason you can have a halfway state is that it doesn't want to pop in, it doesn't want it to flicker on or off. It wants to, as you get close to something, the low detail version gets merges into the higher detail version. So this isn't a mega important thing to fix. You might not even have been seeing it on your project.
I can't wait to get through this windy ass episode.
Just because it's good to know. It's under project settings, and I believe it's under quality. Yeah, there's this variable shadow distance. It's set to 40 right now, so it's 40 meters. In a FPS, a light 40 meters away, it's reasonable to have that not have the full shadowing fanciness on it. In our game, we're actually a very small arena. We happen to be quite a lot of units away with the camera, so I'll just up that to 80. And in this, sorry, in case I didn't explicitly mention, this is the project settings. It's got loads of things about your project, and one of the tabs here is quality. For me, it just started on quality. It might not do that for you, so this is where you need to click. And we just changed the quality settings to very high. Our project has all these different quality settings. The important thing is, am I still running the game? I'm still running the game, aren't I? I should stop doing that. Let me just go back into that.
The color doesn't help at all, does it?
No.
Oh, my shadow distance is 150.
I feel like since I last... Oh, very weird. I think the reason I wasn't seeing it this time, and I was seeing it last time, is that our project has changed from defaulting to very high to defaulting to ultra. Anyway, so all these settings are different for different quality levels, and my change didn't save because I was running the game at the time.
I guess because I was on ultra
I am going to
by
change very
default.
high from 40 to 80. And this default level, I am certain it was on very high before, because I changed the value very high and I fixed it. So this is how you change the default quality level. The kind of game we're making, it's not going to strain anyone's computer. We're not going to run into performance problems, I don't think. And so we don't need to worry about this quality.
I can tell you from checking out the most recent episode, this is a lie.
Whenever it has the green check mark on yours, make sure that value is like at least 80 for shadow distance, and you'll be fine. So the reason we're not going to bother customizing all of these is that Unity has actually taken away the menu that lets the player choose this. It used to, every project was kind of the default menu for choosing quality. Annoyingly, they've removed that from Unity, so you don't get it anymore. And making your own one is kind of a pain, and for a project of our size, it's not worth doing. So it's just a net loss for the player, unfortunately. For projects of this size, it just doesn't make sense to put in the work to do a proper like quality and visual settings menu unless you're going to charge money for it, something like this. And so the net result is we'll just have a slightly less convenient thing for the player, which is a shame. Anyway, on the plus side, for our purposes, we just don't need to worry about the other quality levels. We just pick one and stick with it. I think very high is reasonable.
We're just getting rolling, Everland.
Something really demanding, but very high seems safer. Anyway, that's solved at game level view, and if we see it again, we can just increase that figure. So I think that's all our bugs fixed. And oh yeah, I turned everyone's behavior off. I should turn that back on. And then I'll probably get spotted immediately because they roam. Okay, that makes sense. What I want to do next is I want to just make this more of a level in which we're going to be trying to steal these weapons out from underneath the guards. So the guards are going to be guarding them, and we're going to steal them. So I really hate this green colour I picked for obstacles. I'm going to make that just black, I guess. And should we give all the walls that material? Can I assign? Yeah. Is that better? Yeah, I kind of like that. And then for these obstacles, I just want to make them, I think they'll be a bit bigger, like 10 by 10. Or maybe even longer in one dimension.
Let's make these changes. So he didn't like the green. He went with like a black? I don't know. I'm going to go with like a darker blue. And then he put that on the walls as well. And he's still doing something here.
Let's try that. Is that going to be annoying? Maybe it's going to be annoying. And I'm going to be stomping all over stuff at the moment. I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate this, and then just drag it out.
What? Oh, my weapons are there. Hold on.
pile them up top over here. My player is also over here. I'm going to move the player up in the corner. Okay. Oh, and he's called these obstacles.
Like that, and then again like that. Maybe all of these want to go a bit more central. And then the idea is I'll just put like guards at the intersections. Here, and of course there will be 2 intersections and 3 guards, but that's okay. We could just do it. We could just do it irregularly, like that. And then let's just make sure one of the weapons is in front of each guard. Like here, that's the shotgun. The rifle doesn't matter. They've got lost in these blocks because I'm just selecting them in the hierarchy, and I can drag them out again. Let's have one of them, not the rifle, but this would be the easiest one to get, wouldn't it? And then the hardest one to get would be Uzi, which is between these guys. And this is us, the player. Let's start all the way away from these guys. And if I play that, it's going to be a bit of a mess because they're going to walk around in circles and they're going to kind of drift from their positions. So one day we'll have them actually kind of searching or patrolling these corridors. But for now, I actually think they'd be better off if they just didn't move, if they just turn around. Now we don't need to change any code to do that. I can just open the guard prefab and just change their speed to 0. And now they should just rotate on the spot. They don't because of that old thing where I didn't save that change before I clicked play, so I didn't get registered.
I just took the middle of the
okay, so now it's like, wait for this guy to look away.
Not at all what I wanted to do.
And then I've got it. I can't see my bullets at all.
Oh no, I ruined the Uzi at some point.
But anyway, none of the things I'm breaking here are the things I just made, so I don't care. I like it when you shoot them, they spin faster because I think you're giving them some angular velocity.
Did I do the same thing to the rifle? No. Managed not to kill the rifle. I don't think I can do much for this. I guess I could try to move it back where it's supposed to be. That actually was very close. Yeah, good enough, I guess. Okay, shotgun. Just gonna go over here. Okay. Dom was just racing off.
It's going to be a bit of a mess because they're going to walk around in circles and they're going to kind of drift from their positions. So one day we'll have them actually kind of searching or patrolling these corridors. But for now, I actually think they'd be better off if they just didn't move, if they just turn around. Now we don't need to change any code to do that. I can just open the guard prefab and just change their speed to 0.
Oh, cool.
And now they should just rotate on the spot. They don't because of that old thing where I didn't save that change before I clicked play, so I didn't get registered. And now it should work. Yeah. Okay, so now it's like, I've got to wait for this guy to look away and then grab the gun. And then I've got it. I can't see my bullets at all. And it's also quite hard to hit this guy. But anyway, none of the things that are breaking here are the things I just made, so I don't care. I like it when you shoot them, they spin faster because I think you're giving them some angular velocity. And then finally get the Uzi and hit this guy's out. Okay, so them seeing me doesn't do anything at the moment. But that's the kind of basic configuration that I have in mind. And I think, should we move our camera? Because it's a bit hard to see what you're doing once you're behind these blocks. I think we might want more of an overhead view. Something like that. I just did that in the scene view using right mouse and WSD. And now I'm going to go to main camera, game object, align with view. Should find the game itself is now. Yeah, it's a lot more zoomed out. And I want to get a shotgun, I think. The spin's really funny. And easy. Okay, so what I want to happen is that when they see you, all the old enemies we had will flood in. And to do that, we've got this enemy spawner we disabled. We can just turn that back on, probably move it to down here. And what I think we'll find is that it crashes. Yeah. What is the crash? Let's find out. My light has not been assigned. Yeah, so the thing that we're going to do today is create basically a parent class and a child class. So you know we've been parenting objects to each other. The cylinder is a child of that shotgun. Parenting in programming terms basically just means it inherits something. In other words, some property of the parent also applies to the child. So in the case of objects, it's position and scale, rotation. So they inherit position. So the shotgun's at 17, 11, 17 minus 11, and the cylinder is also at 17 minus 11, and then it gets to its own position as well, which is added on top of the parent, but it's inheriting that 17, 11. It says 0 and 0.7, but actually in world space, in absolute coordinates, it's 17 minus 11. It inherits that from its parent. So a parent and child class, class is like a script, it's a behavior. If we make, we're going to take this enemy behavior that we have, or guard behavior, sorry. Is that right? Am I seeing, we already have two files? That doesn't seem right to me. No, sorry, I think I had those open from when I did a practice version of this episode. So we just have an enemy behavior, right? This is us. I was expecting to see one file. Yes, it has been modified.
He did something else, didn't he?
That's one enemy behavior. And
I think he tried to put the spawner back in and it crashed.
Programming terms, basically enemies we had all flood in.
Right,
to do
yes.
that, we've got this enemy spawner we disabled. We can just turn that back on. Probably move it to down here. And what I think we'll find is that it crashes. Yeah. What is the crash? Let's find out. My light has not been assigned. Yeah, so the thing that we're going to do today is create basically a parent class and a child class. So you know we've been parenting objects to each other. The cylinder is a child of that shotgun. Parenting in programming terms basically just means it inherits something. In other words, some property of the parent also applies to the child. So in the case of objects, it's position and scale, rotation. So they inherit position. So the shotgun's at 17, 11, 17 minus 11, and the cylinder is also at 17 minus 11, and then it gets to its own position as well. Which is
I get all this stuff.
But
This is typical. This is in everything. I mean, even CSS. This is like CSS inheritance.
17 minus 11, it inherits that from its parent. So a parent and child class, class is like a script, it's a behavior.
You know, for
we're going
babies.
to take this enemy behavior that we have, or guard behavior, sorry. Is that right? Am I seeing,
Do I not
we
have a
already have
card
two
game?
files? That doesn't seem right to me. No, sorry, I think I had those open from when I did a practice version of this episode. So we just have an enemy behavior, right? This is us.
Yeah.
I was expecting to see one file. Yes, it has been modified. Yeah, we have this one enemy behavior, and we're going to make a child of it. Now, I was wrong in a previous episode when I predicted that we want the guard to be the parent enemy, and then we'll have a child that's the kind of less intelligent version. That makes sense.
this is the
I
generic.
realize that's not the best way to do it. It actually makes more sense. Since the guard is more specialized, we're going to have a general enemy class, and the guard is going to be a special case of it. So, ultimately, this little nodule enemy here, they're going to have a different behavior on them to our guard, which is over here. But they're going to have a lot in common. And so the first thing I'm going to do, I've got an enemy behavior file selected in the project, and I'm going to do Control D. Does that work? Yeah, so I've duplicated it now. So I'm going to name one of these enemy behavior and one of these guard behavior. Or rather, I should say, I'm going to leave one of these named enemy behavior, and then a copy I'm going to call guard behavior. If I open it, now we've got a real serious problem. We should have, yeah. Which is enemy behavior. So I've renamed the file. The name of the file doesn't actually matter. It doesn't affect anything. Although I think there's dangers. Off the top of my head, I can't remember if it's a problem if you rename a file when there's game objects that already have that on them as a script. I think actually Unity's alright with it, but anyway, that's not what we're doing right now. The thing I wanted to say is that this file name guard behavior, it still says right at the top, it declares itself. You know how you declare a variable, you also declare the class. And it declares the class as enemy behavior, which is not, so I'm going to call that guard behavior. So now we've got two identical files called different things. That's obviously not where we're going to end up. What I want is for guard behavior to inherit from enemy behavior. So here it says guard behavior : mono behavior. That mono behavior is a word that applies to every script we've written so far, except for references. Yeah, except for references. So remember, references is this abstract thing. It's our hotline that we created that we can call.
Not as easy as that, but I thought I'd try.
It's somewhere. It's in heaven, if you like. Everything else in every other script we've written is a behavior, and we can put that word behavior in them. And that's just to sort of remind us that they are attached to a game object that determine how some object in the world is going to behave. And they are all actually children of this thing called mono behavior, which is just Unity's. It's a term for a Unity component, basically. And now that we've created our own class that we want to be a child of a parent, we're going to have guard behavior. Instead of inheriting from mono behavior, it's going to inherit from enemy. Nope. That would be a weird world. Yes, enemy behavior. So that basically says it's going to inherit everything. And if I don't do this, but I'm going to select everything in here and just cut it. If I had an empty class like this, and then we gave guards this, it would do everything that enemy behavior does. It would do this on start, it would do this on update, it would do this on include and enter, it would have all these variables. That it looks empty, but because it's inherited from enemy behavior, it means it gets all of that stuff. And I'm going to put all that stuff back, because actually a lot of the stuff we want to keep as the guards version. So the question is, what do we want in our parent enemy class? So there's going to be stuff that's general to both the little seeking guys and also the watchers with the vision cones. So what should be general? Speed should be general. We want both of them to have speed. Vision range and cone angle? No, that's specific to guards. So let's delete that. Alerted. I think let's leave that for now. Rigid body, yes, they both want rigid bodies. Light, no. The little ones don't need lights, do they? Only the light is for the vision cone, so the little ones don't need that. Turn speed, also no. We could eventually have that, but right now we're not talking about, when we say turn speed at the moment, we're not talking about like agility or anything. It's to do with their patrol scanning rate, which is a stealth thing, which is not applicable to our little guys. So I'm just deleting all stuff that isn't relevant to little guys. And a lot of this is for detecting the player, right? This is rotating, this is checking whether we've seen the player. None of that is relevant to the little guys. So I think we just get rid of it all. Can't see anything that really needs to happen there. And then further up, there's stuff about finding a vector to the player and then following the player. Now that stuff, we need a term, let's call them swarmers, the little guys who just chase after you. The swarmers do want this behavior, they want to be able to chase you. So all this stuff that we'll do anything about lights, and we're getting towards just a little chunk of code that basically follows the player. Excuse me. Let me try. Okay. The little trick I just did there, first I did it wrong, and that's why you heard a bing noise. If you hold Control and then press K and then D, that auto formats your script. So if you've got like all your indents out of whack and you do Control KD, then it puts it all in line. Obviously that's convenient, but also it's sometimes really helpful when you've if you delete stuff, you need to know when delete braces line up, and if they do, it'll all end up looking nice. So all of that chases the player. I am going to.
That sure doesn't work in VS.
This is a behavior that the normal the swarmers are going to use all the time, and the guards are only going to use it some of the time. It's
this
works. Just make it do its own method. So if we say, I'm going to write protected void follow or chase player. Yeah, I think this is worth teaching. So the word protected is a bit like the word private, but it means your children can have it too. So if you say private, on click and enter, the child actually can't use that at all. Is that true? Damn. Does that mean all this stuff should be protected? We're going to find out. I'm not going to change anything else to protected, and if it crashes, we'll know why. Okay. I'm writing protected here because I need the guard behavior, which is a child of the enemy behavior, is going to need to be able to call this function, and I won't be able to access it. And then we're just going to move all of that to here.
This tutorial style is honestly right up my alley.
Most of what we did there was just we deleted a bunch of variables up here.
I'm into it.
Swarmers. And if we create new enemy classes,
I'm here for it.
Relevant to them probably. And then the only relevant part of update was this bit where we chase the player. And so we pulled that out and we've called it chase player. And then the last thing we're going to do is we do want the swarmers to chase the player. So they're going to do that in their update. So that should be a swarmer behavior that works. But now our guard behavior is all confused because we are inheriting some stuff and not others. Let me try. The first thing I want to do is this update thing. This is kind of the biggest, messiest thing. But we already have a chunk of code that says follow the player. So let's just delete that and say follow. Ooh, no, we can't. Sorry, it's chase player. So that's that method we just described earlier. But the reason we wanted to do it that way and make a method and call it is that if we ever change how this code works, we want to change in both places. We're both entities to use the new updated code. The thing you might notice some of this is repeated, like that stuff actually is also in the chase player script. That doesn't matter because it's just declaring variables, so it's a little bit wasteful to do it twice, but it's not worth doing extra work to try and avoid that. We need these variables, player position down here, and vector to player also down here, so we don't want to get rid of those. All this on-collision enter stuff, we can get rid of that because that's in the parent class. And then this our rigid body equals get component rigid body. We want to do that, but we don't need to because it's in this. But I'm just trying to. So the thing I do know is that if we write base.start here, then okay, so that didn't work, and that is because this protected word that I mentioned, that is important. We need that everywhere. We need that on start. We need it on update. We need it on collision enter. So if something is private or if it doesn't mention what access scope it has, in other words, if it just starts with void, that means private. It's the same as writing private void, and private is really strict. It seems private means that only this thing we're looking at, this thing we're having on screen right now, can access it. Nothing else can. If we say protected, then the child of the class can use it too. So when I say base.start now, hopefully it's going to let me do it. And so that is saying whatever our parent has as their start, let's do that. We also need, because there already is a start that we inherit from our parent, we need to specify that we're overriding it. So if I say override void, it's going to understand me, but it's probably going to complain, yeah, because it's going to say, because we haven't specified, we need to make it protected as well, basically. Okay, there's one more step to this. God, this is more complicated than I remember. I'm going to write all the little steps to this down in a minute. we need to write the word virtual there. Okay, yeah, this is... I did consider doing this for weapons first, like making a child of a weapon, because our weapon class is really simple. That might have been a good idea in retrospect. This has become quite a lot to learn all at once. Let me just see, do we have any errors right now? Oh yeah, last thing is update is now complaining. So we're going to make this a protected override void update. And it's still going to complain because update is not virtual yet. Protected virtual void update. Okay. So with that, okay. Now I will do a breakdown of these words. So right at the top, let's write the main thing, which is this is our parent class for all enemies. Code here should be stuff they all use. And then in guard behavior, let's add a note just to say this is specifically guard behavior. Anything all enemies do will be handled by our parent enemy behavior. And then all the little syntax stuff we've been doing. Wow, I wasn't even close to that word, was I? All the syntax stuff we've been doing, I'll also explain that. So protected virtual void, this is where the word salad gets a bit overwhelming. Protected. This function can be used by our children and us, but no one else. We could just make it all public. There's nothing to stop you doing that. But it's not good practice to do that for everything. If you'd written that in your code and I was looking at your code, I wouldn't be like, you can't do that. But if I'm teaching you how to code, then I probably shouldn't teach you to do that, because, I mean, the advantage of doing that is just that you've already learned the word public, so it's one less word to learn. But it is a bit mad to have every single function in a whole class be public, because it means anything could trigger your start. You know, you don't want somebody else to trigger you to initialize when you already handle it yourself. It's, it should never happen. And then the sort of clean code way of doing things is if it should never happen, then you code it so it can't happen. You make it so that if anything tries to do that, it's going to fail. It's not allowed to access that thing. And the idea is that helps you keep it clearer in your head. You can't make a mistake, or there are fewer mistakes you can make. We don't go too far in that direction. We're not going to make our code super strict and tight and locked down so that you can't.
I think I get it, but good God.
Ends up being at least as much work as the mistakes we make in the first place. So virtual means this can be overridden by our children. But if they don't override it, they just use our version.
Okay.
So is there a mnemonic for that? You can remember, like, I guess you could say something like, virtually all enemies use this. Might not be true. Maybe don't override it. Just remember, like, what is virtual versus protected versus void. And then just as a reminder, void, this is what the function returns, gives us back when we call it, in this case, nothing. And then the last thing is the name of the function. So that's, hopefully that covers everything in this document. All these functions have protected void on them. I'll just say I'm protected. We need to put this in front of everything our children might want to use.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I get it.
Worth a separate note. We probably don't want anything to be private. It's unusual that you have anything in the parent class that you don't want the children to be able to access. Sometimes you might have a function that you don't make virtual because you don't want.
So when's the ebook coming out, Tom?
But you still wouldn't make it private because the children probably want to be able to run it.
I see you've got your first draft here.
No, I think I already made that distinction. Right? Protected means that our children can use the function. Virtual means they can override it. They can change it. Overridden just changed by our children. And then in this one, we'll say protected. Again, this would mean if we had children, they could use it. But the more important reason that we use this is that this function has to be. So protected is a scope, like private and public. And we already said that start is a protected function. And so we have to. Let me show you the problem. Let me show you where you can't. I can't do private override, right? It's going to complain about that, surely. Yeah. It's going to say virtual abstract members can't be private. And what if I say public? It's going to say cannot change access modifiers when overriding protected inherited member enemy behavior start. So what it's telling us there is that start is, we said start was protected, and now we're saying it's not. Now we're saying it's public. Well, we can't. We've got to be consistent. We have to give it the same access type as
10 more minutes of wind, y'all. Times how would the math work?
Yeah, and then override. Override means
it's 5 more minutes.
We know our parent has one of these.
It's somewhere between 5 or 10 more minutes.
Function, and we're deciding to override it. Use our version instead. But we're also saying based on
Tom Francis, developer of Gunpoint,
parents,
Heat Signature,
parents
Tactical breach wizards.
Yeah.
This is how Tom
So-
spent his lockdown.
Overriding start means we're going to run ours instead of theirs, and then when we say base.start, we're saying we'll run theirs first, and then we'll do some stuff. And now that I've done that, it's clear to me that in enemy behavior, we actually don't want alerted. Alerted is a stealth thing, and it's not relevant to our swarmers. Swarmers don't have a concept of alerted or not. They're always alerted.
It's fine.
They're constantly alert. So I apologise for the word salad there. I hope I've made sense of most of it. I realise that was a lot of typing without playing. So shall we see if we can play? We're going to have to change some prefabs first because we've made two different files, and not all of these. Not everyone would have got them. Okay, yeah. So the enemy behavior. Dang. Is no longer the right component for this. We're going to take it off, and we're going to add.
Why is
guard
this
behavior.
angry?
I wish I had your screen in front of me now because. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one more thing we need to guard behavior. All that stuff that we already declared in the parent, all the stuff that's already in the parent, we can get rid of now. So we don't need speed, we don't need rigid body, and I guess that's it. Everything else is just ours. So when I looked back in Unity, it had speed twice, and that's because we declared it in the parent and in the child. And there was a Unity warning about that. It was also a Visual Studio warning about that. It was telling us.
Okay, hold the fucking phone. Our rigid body. Oh, did he remove this here? Probably did. I think I have to go back and see why or how. I imagine you have to make it like public, but I'm not 100% on that. It's just declared at the top. Oh, do I not? I do. Protected virtual wood start. Hello? Why is this a problem? Yeah, but he doesn't put public or anything like that on it. Says any behavior, our rigid body is inaccessible due to its protection level. Yeah, I guess it is just that, but he didn't do it. I guess maybe he'll run into that. Is it as simple as this? Yes, it is. I have no confidence in any knowledge that I manage to absorb. I always want to like check and make sure that the did teacher do it?
It's going to say cannot change access modifiers when overriding protected inherited member enemy behavior start. So what it's telling us there is that start is, we said start was protected, and now we're saying it's not. Now we're saying it's public. Well, we can't. We've got to be consistent. We have to give it the same.
Oh.
Access.
Wait, they're all staring at me all the time now?
Just use protect.
Something's not right. They're not chasing me either.
Yeah. And then override. Override means we know our parent has one of these. Has a version of this function, and we're deciding to override it. Use our version instead. But we're also saying base.start. Call our parents, or let's say run our parents' version of this.
Interesting. It's not throwing errors, so there's just some
So
logic
overriding
issue.
start means we're going to run ours instead of theirs, and then when we say base.start, we're saying we'll run theirs first, and then we'll do some stuff. And now that I've done that, it's clear to me that in enemy behavior, we actually don't want alerted. Alerted is a stealth thing, and it's not relevant to our swarmers. Swarmers don't have a concept of alerted or not. They're always alerted. They're constantly alert. So I apologise for the word salad there. I hope I've made sense of most of it. I realise that was a lot of typing without playing. So shall we see if we can play? We're going to have to change some prefabs first because we've made two different files, and not all of these.
Oh, right.
Not everyone would have got them. Okay, yeah. So
The guards don't have their behavior.
Dang.
That's why.
Is no longer the right component for this. We're going to take it off, and we're going to add guard behavior. I wish I had your screen in front of me now because oh, I'm sorry. There's one more thing we need to do to guard behavior. All that stuff that we already declared in the parent, all the stuff that's already in the parent, we can get rid of now. So we don't need speed, we don't need rigid body, and I guess that's it. Everything else is just ours. So when I looked back in Unity, it had speed twice, and that's because we declared it in the parent and in the child. And there was a Unity warning about that. It was also a Visual Studio warning about that. It was telling us that we'd done that. So sadly, because of the way I've done this, I've lost those individual stats. Is this loading? Did I not save or something? Oh, it's actually throwing an error. Is that because, is our rigid body not public? Oh, yeah, it's not public. So we create, let's just make that public. And then that fixes that, yeah, okay. So that was
Did we
essentially
lose
because
all
we
of
didn't tell
our
it whether it should be public or private. It assumed private, and private things can't be accessed by the child.
Yeah.
So that should
That's
fix that.
a thing, but
Yep.
whatever. I remember them.
And now all of our
8.8,
vision range
yeah.
and cone settings are.
I actually don't remember this one. It was like
I
30 or
might
something.
Look at. Let me see. Do I have a tutorial folder? Tutorial notes. Somewhere in there is a link to a tutorial. I'm going to look at our own tutorial to find out what those numbers were. I could derive.
Oh,
them
he's
again
doing
by
that
looking
right
at the,
now.
This is going to be a bit of an Inception thing for you, I guess. Watching a video that's watching a video.
Oh,
I just
the
wanna see
light. I
those
need to drag the
stats.
light into the guard as
Stats.
well. Okay, they're just moving, which is bad and wrong. Now it's chasing me. Now it's chasing me, but its light color didn't change. But, I mean, that kind of sort of works. I know what I think I know what I did wrong, because I put a speed on there just absent-mindedly thinking that they needed that. But they probably don't need that, because I think they're just supposed to turn in place until... Nope, because they don't even do that now. Yeah. So now they can't move again. Probably some code thing that we're going to change in a second after he tests his. Okay. I think I know what the issue is, but... Oh, God. Light mode on YouTube, Tom?
Okay, so we've got something set there. Is that what we settled on? 9.2, and let's say 35. See if our game runs at all. Oh, the light thing hasn't been set yet. My light variable, just need to drag our spotlight into that. Turn speed is nothing. Let's give it 1. Okay, well, the enemy spawner's back. Interesting. So that seemed to work in terms of the angle was right. They don't go red anymore when they look at us, which is interesting. I'll have to figure out what that was. But hey, both enemy types exist, and the game isn't crashing. So our job, actually, is a success. Those health bars are really, really obnoxious at this point, aren't they? That almost completely worked. They're just not going red anymore, which is slightly weird. But let's check that. Oh, I know why. I think I know why. It's because the chase player thing... I think we used to do it here, didn't we? Light.color equals color.red. I think I just got lost in the move. Because chase player, we broke all this down in chase player, but I think there was a light thing there as well. Yeah, that's cool. I like a shadow that they cast on us as well.
Use them what?
Okay, that's really
yeah,
cool. We're basically done. I just want to do one last thing, which is just to get the logic in there that we did all of this for. We want this 2 enemy types, one that's looking to detect you, one that's going to be summoned when you are detected, and we don't have that yet, do we? We've got, on this enemy spawner, we've got enemy spawner script. Let's just give it a public bool, that's boolean, true or false, for activated, and it will start as false. We can set that in inspector, but I think it will default as false anyway. And then what I want is for guard, when guard is alerted down here, let's label this as the first time we see the player. We want to refer to that enemy spawner, so we need a spot for it in references. This probably won't be how we do it in the long run, but for now it's a good convenient way of doing it. We're going to declare a public static enemy spawner. Remember, static means we can access it from anywhere. It's an enemy spawner rather than a game object because we actually want to talk to the script. We don't just want to do something to the object in the world. We want to tell the script, hey, you're active. So enemy spawner, we'll get an awake function. Remember, we use that. Awake happens before start, and that's when we want to set up any references. So references.spawner.
All right, hold on. I gotta go back a bit because he got away from me again.
It's because the chase player thing. I think we used to do it here, didn't we? Lilac.color equals color.red. I think I just got lost in the move. Because chase player, we broke all this down into chase player, but I think that was
Yeah, this one's windy. I imagine that he'll get a bunch of comments about it, or he did get a bunch of comments about it, and the next one probably won't be windy. I think that that's basically how it already is. I mean, we set the color red when it's alerted, if alerted, and then this is set. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it could be set up there or something. It's whatever, right? Effectively, end of the day, kind of the same.
Yeah, that's cool. I like a shadow that they cast on us as well. Okay, that's pretty cool. We're basically done. I just want to do one last thing, which is just
We're almost
logic
done
in
with
there
this.
that we did all this for. We want this two enemy types, one that's looking to detect you, one that's going to be summoned when you are detected, and we don't have that yet, do we? We've got on this enemy spawner, we've got enemy spawner script. Let's just give it a public bool. That's boolean, true or false.
Okay, any spawner?
For activated, and it will start as false. We can set that in inspector, but I think it will default to false anyway. And then what I want is for guard, when guard is alerted down here, let's label this as first time we see the player. We want to refer to that enemy spawner, so we need a spot for it in references. This probably won't be how we do it in the long run, but for now it's a good convenient way of doing it. We're going to declare a public static enemy spawner. Remember, static means we can access it from anywhere. It's an enemy spawner rather than a game object because we actually want to talk to the script. We don't just want to do something to the object in the world. We want to tell the script, hey, you're active. So enemy spawner, we'll get an awake function. Remember, we use that. Awake happens before start, and that's when we want to set up any references. So references.spawner equals this. As soon as we wake up, tell the references hotline, hey, if anyone asks for the spawner, that's me. And then guard behavior, the first time we see the player, is going to go references.spawner. Sorry, no, not activated.
I'm surprised this is the last thing he wanted to do, rather than make the guards actually chase you.
True.
But
So,
I mean, this is
enemy
fine.
spawner has an
Yes,
activated boolean.
I am the Lord.
It tells references who it is. Guard behavior, when it sees the player, tells it looks up, calls the references hotline, says, hey, get me the spawner.
Sly Master, thank you for
Spawner,
64
when the
months.
spawner is activated, we want that to actually determine when they spawn an enemy. So in their update, we're going to say, if activated, do all this. So that way, when activated, it's false, they won't do anything. So I hope that all makes sense. They're going to start unactivated. When they are activated, they spew out enemies, and its guard behavior is going to activate them. Let me just check that in the inspector, enemy spawner show a field for activated, and it's off. So no enemies come out. That's correct. And then we let someone see us, and enemies come out. Awesome. So that is basically our gameplay concept. It's got a long way to go yet before it, is fun. But there's the idea. So if you can steal the weapons without summoning the enemies, and then once you have them all, or once you're in a good position, you will have some way you manually summon the enemies, or you pull an alarm, or
Very
because
cool.
you're going to steal, and you steal that thing, and that always trips the alarm. So you're going to fight those guys eventually, but you just want to be in the best possible spot to do it when you.
Thank you, Tom.
Our rifle is pathetic, by the way.
It's
It does
very
almost
awesome.
no damage, even though it's really slow firing, and it's also almost impossible to see the bullets. Of course, now that I've got weapons, I can just shoot everyone really easily. Firing a weapon should set off the alarm, I think. So like until you have a weapon, you have to just sneak around. and maybe there could be a stealth takedown or something, but we can decide that as we come to it. Hello, sorry, it's been a while since
I like how he always disappears into the cosmos.
in the near future, I want to work on.
He got quieter.
One of the biggest things we need to address with
Okay, all right, hold on the phone. He got quieter, right? That's not just me.
Hello, sorry that it's been a while since our last episode. This is going to be episode 13. In the near future, I want to work on feel. I think that's one of the biggest things we need to address with our game. But we're not quite ready to do that yet because there's a couple of things outstanding.
Yeah,
the main thing
very
is
quiet.
there's a really serious bug with our game that I want to demonstrate and then fix. And then the way we fix that is a really useful line of code that we'll be using all over the place. So I want to actually.
Shit. Well. Oh, you know what's really frustrating about Firefox's pop-up? This.
Hello, sorry that it's been a while since our last episode. This is going to be episode 13. In the near future, I want to work on feel. I think that's one of the biggest things we need to address with our game. But we're not quite ready to do that yet because there's a couple of things outstanding. The main thing is there's a really serious bug with our game that I want to demonstrate and then fix. And then the way we fix that is a really useful line of code that we'll be using all over the place. So I don't want to just breeze over it briefly. I want to use it in a different way as well, so you can see why it's useful. And yeah, this is just a planning document of like what I think we might do this episode or what we'll do afterwards. This is probably too much for one episode, but yeah, adding some sounds is really going to add a lot to the game, but we're not doing that today. Okay, so what is the problem with our game? Let's play it. We've got the main sort of concept working, which is that it's a stealth game until you are detected, and then it becomes a kind of defense, defeat waves of incoming enemies kind of game. We actually, right now, if you don't get detected but you do shoot, the enemies don't get summoned, and they should do, so we'll fix that today as well. But what's the big problem? The big problem is, let's see, in scene view, I want to redesign this level slightly to illustrate our issue. What if, right now we've got these big thick walls, but what if we had a thin wall like this, which is kind of not unusual in a game like this. Oh no, I don't want to change that. Let's just make this be closer to this guy, and over here, just a guard who's...
Oh, they're going to see through the wall, of course.
And I stand the other side of it. I get detected.
Yeah.
What the hell, man? The wall's blocking you. And because of our lovely light vision cone...
Yeah, I've thought about this already.
Completely blocked perfectly by that wall. And yeah, I got detected. So that's bad. And we knew this was going to happen, didn't we? I mentioned it at the time. Because in our guard behavior, I hope that that this is the right version of the project I have open.
Yeah, we're just doing a generic, dumb
does detection. So this is in guard behavior. If they're not
cone.
detected, they rotate.
A two-dimensional
and
cone.
They check. Hey, is the player close enough to us for us to see them? Are they within our vision range? And then if so, are they within our vision angle? And then if so, we've seen them. Well, that's a bit hasty, isn't it? There's another step. Is there a clear line of sight? Is there anything blocking our line of sight? That's what we want to find out now. And we're going to do that. It's going to be the last check we do because it's going to be done with a raycast. We've sort of used a raycast before for when we wanted to know
where the mouse was.
We definitely have used a raycast. I remember I described it as like firing a laser out of your eyes to find out where the camera hits the ground, basically, and that tells you where the cursor is in world terms.
Right.
Now this case is we're going to fire a laser out of the enemy's eyes at us, and we want to know, does that laser hit any walls? That's the key thing. And this is a raycast. It's because you're casting a ray, shooting a laser, and we need a few different things set up in order to do it. What a raycast tells you. So the way we've used it before is a bit of a special case. The much more common thing is you're usually going if physics.raycast, and then a whole bunch of stuff in these brackets. What goes in that brackets is incredibly... there's a huge number of different ways of calling the raycast function. In fact, maybe I can show you. Yeah, okay, so as you open the brackets here, it says, okay, oh, you want to do physics raycast? Yeah, I know about that. Do you want to pass in a ray? Oh, we can pass in a ray. If we had a ray, we don't have a ray. That's a variable type we haven't used, and we're not going to use it. These up and down arrows show the other ways you can call this function. Well, you could call it with a ray and a max distance. You could call it with a ray and an raycast hit info. You could call it with origin and direction. You could call it with a ray, max distance, and layer mask. You could call it with a ray, hit info, max distance. There are 16 of these, and they get long, and the order is not something I can remember. We are going to we're going to use a lot of these. So I said that we're shooting a laser out of the enemy's eyes. So we know where the enemy is. We know
You're not dumb, Cone.
The enemy's transformed.
You're special.
Position. So that's argument 1 is done. Let me see if I can just find the one that we're going to use. This is it. Okay. So you don't need to know that it's 11 out of 16, but this is a convenient way of calling a function because it's all things we know. So where's the ray coming from? It's coming from the enemy's position. Where is the ray going? What direction is it going? We don't give it an endpoint. For some reason, you never do that with raycasts. You give it a starting point and a direction. And actually, conveniently, we already defined vector to player. We have that. Let me just check where it is. Yeah, that turned out to be a convenient thing for other things to do with enemy detection and seeking the player. So we already defined vector to player. Vector to player means what direction do we have to go to reach the player, and it also contains information about how far they are away. Basically, vector to player is the journey we would take to get to the player right now. if we went directly. And in the case of a raycast, when you specify direction, it doesn't matter how big the vector you're passing in is. It's sort of common to pass in a vector that's only length 1, but it doesn't matter at all. It can be as long as you like. And since we already have one that's going the exact right direction, we don't care that it's that we don't even know how long it is. Because the next argument is where we say how far the ray should go. Now, we just want to go as far as that vector is. Like, however big it is, that's how far we want to go. And there's a way of writing that. It's vector to player dot magnitude. And then the last thing is a layer mask. And that takes a bit more setup. So
nice.
That little snap noise, by the way, was a timer that I have going. It's not anything you need to worry about.
I don't believe you, Tom.
We don't have one of those. A layer mask is a way of telling the ray which things you want it to collide with and which things you don't want it to collide with. And we want it to collide with walls, but nothing else. So if we didn't mask the layers, to use Unity's terminology, then this ray would hit everything. So it would always, the first thing it would hit is the person firing it. This is an absolutely classic bug that almost every game developer will run into at some point, is you have an entity that's supposed to shoot out a projectile of some kind, usually a gun or a bullet or whatever, and you tell it, whatever you hit, destroy it. And you test that, you click fire, and the enemy is destroyed because the bullet immediately hit the thing it was being fired from. So a layer mask is a way of getting around that. We don't have any right now, so we can't finish the sentence. The layer mask we want is it's a layer mask that's just going to filter out everything except walls. And that's going to be a really common thing we want. So I'm going to define it not here, but in references. Because this is just the guard behavior. If I define it here, only guards are going to know about it. Actually, I think everyone wants to know about it. Everyone might need to get to it. So I've gone to references, and I'm typing public static layer mask. And I'm just going to call it walls layer. And I've forgotten how to write this, because we actually define it right here. Let me see if I can figure it out. Layer mask.getMask. Yes, here we go. And then we just put walls in quote marks. So so layer mask is a variable type. It's this type of thing. It's sort of like a filter for physics that's going to tell the any physics thing that we do with this to ignore everything except a certain kind of layer. And I'll show you what a layer is soon. I think we have used them before for bullets.
Used it for bullets, yeah.
So it's not a new concept for us. So it's a variable type. It's also a hotline. You can use it like a hotline. Remember, we do this with vector 3, right? All the time we're defining vector 3s, but we also sometimes call the vector 3 hotline and say, hey, what is up? What is 0? And things like that. So we call layer mask hotline and we say, hey, can you get me a layer mask that is just walls? You can actually also pass in other things. You can do walls and enemies like this. And that will create a layer mask where it includes both of those layers. We only want one layer at the moment, so it's just going to be walls. But that word walls, I just made that up. That's just arbitrary. That isn't set anywhere in Unity yet, so we're going to go back to Unity and pick any old obstacle. It doesn't matter what at the moment, or wall. Our obstacles are walls as well, in a sense. Any of these, and then there's a little thing called layer here. Previously we created a bullet layer. Now we're going to go to add layer. And we're going to write in walls, and I will have ranted about this at the time because it's a thing that eternally annoys me. I just told you I want to set the layer, and then I typed in a new layer, but that hasn't set it. It's still on default, so you've got to go back and set it. So actually, before we set it, rather than doing it individually to every single thing, we can shift, click, and select all of our things down here, and then I'm going to hold Control and click everything that says wall in it. Are there any other obstacles? No, I guess 4 walls and 3 obstacles is all we've got. I've got all of them selected, and then all at once I can click on layer here and go to walls, and now they're all on the walls layer. Yeah, and that's more or less it. And just the fact that I wrote the word walls there and I've written the word walls here means that these two things will be connected. They will.
Lovely.
The references variable will refer to that layer. And so, back in our raycast, we finish this by typing references dot walls layer, and that should be a valid line of code. After which,
I can't test mine because I don't have a thin wall. I'll make this one thin. I guess I'll do this just to make sure that it's very much like, well, that didn't work. Tom, it didn't work. You seen me. I'm in trouble. Okay, there must be more to it.
Forgotten, why is it complaining? It needs another close bracket, does it? Oh yeah, for the if, I see. Okay, so all of that says if we hit a wall. This whole thing, I'll do a nice long comment to explain everything we just did. Let's just write out basically the same call, and I'll just explain it. Starting point, comma, direction, comma, distance to check, comma, layer mask that only includes things we care about hitting. And then this returns true if we hit something on that layer.
Haven't we, Richie?
When we shoot a
Haven't we?
laser in that direction for that distance. That's got long, so I'm going to put it on a separate line. So, all of which means there's a mistake here, because
Oh, right, it
I
needs
just
to
said it
be...
returns true if we do hit a wall. Well,
Oh,
all this
can we
is
just
saying,
do
have
this?
we seen the player? If we did hit a wall between us and the player,
Am I a genius?
then we didn't see the player. So actually, we want to add equals false.
No. I want to do if not. Thank you very much. Fuck yeah, dude. Getting all my guns. Nobody can touch me. Not even through thin walls. Dumb idiot guards. Oh! That was weird. He started spinning very fast. And I got... Oh. Oh, did the stream buffer for my glorious hero moment? Thank you, Richie. I feel better now.
So that says, if shooting a laser from our eyes to the player didn't hit a wall, then yeah, we did see him. And so all of this stuff that's to do with seeing him, we're going to put that inside this if statement. That all makes sense, right? So first we check, are they in vision range, then we check, are they in our vision angle, and then only if all that's true do we actually try shooting a laser at them, and if that laser hits a wall before it hits them, then we didn't see them. And so we check, as long as that laser didn't hit a wall, as long as that is false, then we should be alerted. And that ought to fix it. Alright, here's our test case. Yeah, look at that, didn't see me, did he? Just let it go around again just to check. And now if I go in front of the wall, perfect.
God, every little thing like that is so satisfying.
So yeah, I said
huh?
There's another problem with our detection code, which is that, not with the detection code actually, just in general, when a weapon fires, we want that to alert all the spawners, there's only one enemy spawner at the moment. So this code that says, when a guard sees us, we do references.spawner.activated equals true, that is the thing that summons the enemies. I'm just going to copy and paste that, and then we'll go to weapon behavior. Just as a reminder, anytime if you don't have that file open, you hit Control T, and you start typing weapon behavior, and it pops up, and then you hit enter, and that will jump you to it. Weapon behavior has this fire function, and it only fires if the seconds since last shot is greater than the seconds between shots. But here, if we get this far, then we are firing. Let's do it here. Let's say references.spawner.activated equals true. So it doesn't matter that sometimes the spawner will already have been activated. Like it might already be true. In fact, only the first shot will it be false. It will always be true afterwards. We don't need to worry about that. There's no point in checking whether it's false. We just set it to true. It doesn't cost anything to set it to true, really. Not in the grand scheme of things. So we just do that every time we fire. So let's just check that works. I guess I need to pick up a weapon undetected to be able to test this. So, enemy spotted. So we will get back to raycasts in a second. There's a couple of things that are really bothering me right now. One is, look at this, I'm firing this rifle, I have no idea what is happening. There's like, there is technically a gold bullet coming out, but with our new lighting it's impossible to see. And then the other thing is these health bars are absolutely swamping me.
Yes.
Let's fix the
Agreed.
The rifle thing first. Now, I don't remember doing this, but it turns out we have two explosion materials. This thing, for a long time I've been thinking this explosion material is really weird. It's very strange that our explosions are gold, like shiny gold. We're never going to get them looking good because I'm not an artist, but just something a bit less crazy than that would be nice. So at some point I created an extra one. If you didn't, in fact, if you already have this explosion material one, then great. I'm just going to delete it for now because I want to show you how to create it in case you don't, because I don't think that's part of the lesson because I didn't do anything with it. So I just click on explosion material and I hit Control D and that duplicates it.
Yeah, I don't have to. I think I named mine
actually,
bullet material and put it on the rifle bullet.
I'm going to rename the old explosion material to gold material, because we do still want that for weapons and stuff. And then this new one, instead of being explosion material 1, it's just going to be explosion material. I'm pressing F2 there to rename. They've both gone dark. Don't worry about that, that's just a Unity bug, I think. It just forgets about lighting levels sometimes. And so gold material, that's fine, we'll leave it as is. It's a weird thing we've created there, but it does look like gold. And our explosion, I'm going to change the shader we're using. I think we ended up making it look metallic because we didn't know how to make it look, not just look kind of like it's been painted. The world of shaders is all about that. It's about the quality of the material. What does it look like this thing is made of? And I have discovered that particles standard unlit. Unlit is kind of deceptive because it sounds like that would be darker, but it's actually brighter because unlit means it doesn't care about lighting. It's just going to light itself. And if I choose that, let's, yeah, okay, I've chosen that, but let's actually just open up our explosion prefab. I'm going to give it a bit of size. Remember, we made it 0 size so it wouldn't pop into existence fully formed. I've just changed the scale there to 111 so we can see it. You don't necessarily have to do that, I just want to illustrate what happens as we change this. But what you should do is, now that we've renamed the gold material to gold, we've got this explosion material, I'm going to drag explosion material onto this, so there's that. That actually doesn't look bad already. Maybe we should try that. But what I did want to check was, yeah, there's a thing that bothers me here where we've chosen this shader. We said rendering mode transparent, but it's plainly not, is it? Like when we picked this color, we picked an alpha of all the way down here. Alpha is the opposite of transparency, so it's the stronger the alpha, the less transparent it is. In fact, look at the thing changes as I do this. It changes color, but it doesn't get transparent, does it? And I figured out what the answer is here. Instead of transparent, you choose additive, and then it is transparent. And it's not that we necessarily need this to be super transparent. It just, we said we wanted it to be, and it wasn't, so let's fix that. So I'm just going to try this, see what that looks like.
HDR.
This isn't
I really don't need HDR here. Oh, well, whatever.
Yeah, that's a lot better, actually. That's a lot more explosion-y. All right. The reason I did that particular fix.
That does look better. Yeah. Cool. It's not amazing or anything, but it's good. It's better than what it was by a lot.
Right now is that this rifle bullet that we can't see. Remember, rifles fires a special kind of bullet. One of the problems is that it's using this weird gold material that's kind of dark, so I'm actually going to drag our new explosion material onto this. It's not letting me do that. Okay.
Oh, it's going to be like a tracer now.
What that looks like, quickly. There's sort of a miscellany of things we need to do here. Okay, so now you can see the bullet, right? You can at least see the bullet. Actually, I can't. Okay, so there is a reason to do those explosions transparently, which is when they overlap, they get more intense, which is really cool. That is definitely a much more explosion. And then there's one other cool thing we can do with this rifle bullet, which is it would be even more noticeable if it had a light on it. Now that we're using lighting in a bunch of places, by default lighting is all real time, so we can just, so I'm in our rifle bullet prefab, I just right click on rifle bullet and I'm going to light and point light. It's going to create one just on top of that. And I'm not going to do anything else, I'm just going to test the game, because I think that is actually a decent...
Oh my gosh, not that small. Nice, nerd girl. Congratulations. Oh no, this... Okay. The rifle also uses that explosion material? Oh, okay. It seems to get very confused about this initially. That does look cool, though. But I had a couple of glitches there that didn't look so great. But yeah, I like it. It's sick. I need to change the material on the rifle, of course. It's wild how nice things can look with really just very basic stuff we've done here. It's not, we haven't done much at all. Yep, we're shooting those glow sticks out, baby.
Size, yeah. So it glows a bit, not much. But you certainly see it now, right? And it actually reveals that bullets behave in a pretty strange way. They kind of bounce in a very odd way that we'll fix that someday, but it's not going to be a thing for today because it's a whole other topic. And yet, we also miss a lot, right? In cases where we should hit. So I'm rattling through these things fairly fast. I hope I'm not skipping over anything that's too complex, like creating that light that's not too novel, adding materials to stuff, we've done that before. I'm having trouble seeing what's going on in the game because our health bars are taking up all this space. We could make them smaller, but actually I think there's a better thing we can do. So I'm going to edit the health bar code. I am going to reload it. And what I want to write, so our health bar code, all it knows, it just gets told to show a fraction. Every tick, we're always telling our health bar, here's what fraction I want you to show. And almost all of the time it's 1, right? And a common convention in video games is that when something has full health, you don't show the health bar, you only show it if it's injured. And then once the player knows that, they can just assume, okay, seeing health bar at all means it's injured. If I don't see health bar, it's full health.
Cool.
So we can do something like, if the fraction we've been asked to display is less than 1, then filled part dot enabled equals true, and if it's not less than 1, i.e. we have full health, then filled part dot enabled I can't type equals false. But of course the filled part is just the green bit. There's also a black background, so we also want to say that should be enabled. Let me just play this and just show you what we just did in case it wasn't clear. We should now see that when something's full health, you can't see its green part, which is kind of the worst possible outcome, because now it looks like I have 0 health. So we don't want that. What we want to do is also hide that background. And if we open up our health bar prefab, the filled part here, that's an image component on this little child here, this sub-object. The background is this image component on our main object. So in our health bar script, we have a reference to the filled part. Let's open it up again and create another public image variable. And this one will just call background. And we will also set background enabled equals true here, and background enabled equals false. And now back in Unity, we need to establish that reference. We've created a slot for it, but we haven't told it where to get that information. And it's right up there. Can we drag that in there? Oh, we can. Cool. You can also, normally be dragging an object in there, and then it will figure out if there's a component on there that works. But we don't need to do that. So that should just hide all the health bars. And it's not too much of a problem with these guards. Yeah, look, that feels natural.
Nice.
Doesn't it? And then all these guys, I can see them at last. Oh man, explosions are so much nicer now. And glowing bullets are cool. So we have done a bit of feel this episode. Yeah, I'm missing a lot, and I wonder if... Yeah, I'm just going to make this change now because I think it's worth making. I often
What's
see
that
when
pink
bullets
thing
go
that he
through
has?
people. I don't know if it's this, but one thing I noticed that's probably silly is that our bullets, we open the bullet prefab, the rigid body, it says use gravity on it, which means our bullets are falling over time. Now, if you're making like a realistic military sim, then bullet drop-off is a thing that you care about. We're making kind of an action-y game with a lot of simplified physics and simulation. We don't actually want our bullets falling down. I think that's, if that ever has an effect, it's going to be an unexpected effect. If it ever has an impact, you're going to be thinking, what the hell just happened? So I'm just going to uncheck use gravity there. And then our rifle bullet, because that's a separate prefab too, also uncheck use gravity there. Let's just see if that feels different. No, we still miss unexpectedly. Yeah, so that might just be to do with like the collider not being big enough. We can make the collider bigger. I don't think I ever see it with the other weapons. I think it's kind of a rifle problem. I guess the Uzi, there's so many bits going on, you can't really tell, right?
I think maybe he never fixed the thing where
here.
his enemies are up in the air, maybe? I fixed that for myself.
But didn't I just see something pink? Yeah. That lurid pink color, that
Yeah, what is the pink
almost
thing?
always means something is missing, like a texture has gone missing. Let me figure out what weapon that is. Is that the shotgun? I'm not at all surprised, because we messed with materials, didn't we, that it was using. Let's give them the gold material, right? Each of the cylinders under the shotgun would drag the gold material to it. Yeah, that's right. Okay, cool. That gravity change didn't really help us, I don't think, but I think it's the right change to make anyway, because, like I say, if gravity is ever going to change the outcome of interaction in our game, it's probably going to be a surprise to the player. I think if you're playing something like, I don't know, if you're playing like an arcade shooter and bullet drop-off messes with you, that's going to be a surprise, a nasty surprise. Okay, so the other thing I want to do is something else with raycasts, because, like I say, they're super useful, and in fact, with weapons, a very common kind of weapon you might want to make in a game is something that hits immediately. Not something where you actually model a projectile going through space. If you make that projectile go extremely fast, you can get some strange results. Tends to be if you like I don't think if you just want to model a bullet, a real gun realistically shooting somebody in a game, it doesn't really make sense to model the bullet itself because it's going to be moving so fast that you can get some strange results. In most contexts, you're going to want to have that hit instantly. In our game, we're making kind of like I say, an arcadey game where you see bullets traveling way slower than they would in real life. That's fun in some ways, and it's a common approach in indie games. But I want to teach you the other approach as well. So I think in our context, we're going to call that a railgun, something that hits immediately. In a world where bullets don't normally move that fast, let's call that a railgun. So to make that, I'm going to duplicate our rifle. I selected it in the hierarchy and hit Control D. Just drag that over here so we can see it. I'll rename it railgun. To make it look different, I'm going to drag a new material. I'm going to select it cylinder, because that's the bit we're seeing. I'll hit F as well so we can see it better. And then instead of the gold material, I'm going to give it the obstacle material, which is that dark one we made for these walls. Not a great choice for a pickup because you want them to be very visible, but it will do for now. And now, the cool thing about our weapons code is that when I was messing around with this, I did a trial run, and I was thinking, okay, I've got to make a new weapon. I'll make a child class of the weapon class, and that will, create this laser instead of creating a bullet. And I realized, actually, you don't need to do that. Our weapon system, we've done a good job at making our weapon system only handle things about the weapon. It doesn't really know or care what it fires. It just has a slot for bullet. But yeah, like I say, an arcadey game where you see bullets traveling way slower than they would in real life. That's fun in some ways, and it's a common approach in indie games. But I want to teach you the other approach as well. So I think in our context, we're going to call that a railgun, something that hits immediately. In a world where bullets don't normally move that fast, let's call that a railgun. So to make that, I'm going to duplicate our rifle. I selected it in the hierarchy and hit Control D. Just drag that over here so we can see it. I'll rename it railgun. To make it look different, I'm going to drag a new material. I'm going to select it cylinder, because that's the bit we're seeing. I'll hit F as well so we can see it better. And then instead of the gold material, I'm going to give it the obstacle material, which is that dark one we made for these walls. Not a great choice for a pickup because you want them to be very visible, but it will do for now. And now, the cool thing about our weapons code is that when I was messing around with this, I did a trial run, and I was thinking, okay, I've got to make a new weapon. I'll make a child class of the weapon class, and that will, create this laser instead of creating a bullet. And I realized, actually, you don't need to do that. Our weapon system, we've done a good job at making our weapon system only handle things about the weapon. It doesn't really know or care what it fires. It just has a slot for bullet prefab, and you can put anything in there. It's just an object of any kind. It could be firing the player, it could be firing the camera. And that's nice. It's good to code things that way because then when you want to make a variant on it, you don't need to mess with that code. We don't need to change our weapon behavior code at all. We're actually just going to slot in a different value here.
Good shit.
Instead of a rifle bullet, we'll make a laser. Should we call it a laser? I think so because rail projectile. Like technically a railgun is firing a slug, and I think it's just about whether the slug is like radioactive or something. But in video game terms, it's almost always a weapon that hits immediately and it goes through things.
I mean,
that's what we're really interested in. We want a weapon that goes through things because that's going to feel different to our other guns.
Depleted uranium.
So I'm going to call it a laser. Or I could call it a beam. Maybe I'll call it a beam. Yeah. So I'm going to duplicate the rifle bullet. It's not going to have a lot in common with the rifle bullet, but it's just a convenient place to start. And yeah, so call it railgun beam. People who are really into sci-fi weapons are going to be mad at me for saying a railgun has a beam, because it doesn't. But let us open that prefab. And we're going to get rid of that light. Just deleted that. We actually don't even want a lot of these things. But let's not worry about what it looks like just yet. Let's worry about how it behaves. And for that, I'm going to I'll remove this bullet behavior, and then I'll add component, and we're going to write a new script. And I guess we'll call it railgun beam. And after a while, once we see its title appear there, we can double click it. And so, is this a completely new thing, or is it a child of the bullet behavior? Remember how our guard is a child of the enemy behavior. Because it's a kind of enemy. And is a railgun beam a kind of bullet? These are the deep fundamental philosophical questions you ask yourself as a game developer. Is a railgun beam a kind of bullet? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say we're going to make it a child of bullet behavior, partly because I want to show you that, like, the guards and the
Here we go again, kids.
Here we're going to make something that's pretty fundamentally different to a bullet, but there's still sometimes some value to making it a child of the bullet class, because what is in our bullet class? If I control click here, I'll jump to it. It's got bullet speed, we don't need that. Seconds until destroyed, I think we will need that. I think our beams are going to be in the world for a moment and then disappear. And damage, we definitely need that. And so we could create our own class with our own versions of those variables. There's nothing wrong with doing that. And like I say, right now our weapon behavior, when it creates the bullet, creates it here. just creates a game object, and we do some things. We point it in the right direction. Right now we give it a name, although that's actually, we don't need to do that. That's just a thing I was doing to illustrate a point. So all we do is point it in the right direction, and that's it. We set its transform forward, basically. So currently we don't really mess with it. The reason I want Railgun Beam to be a child of bullet behavior is that, like I said, it's going to have damage, it's going to have a duration, how long it's allowed to last in the world before we delete it. And someday, it's possible, we might want to have the weapon do something to the damage of the bullet. For example, if you had like a weapon degradation system or something, and you wanted this thing to, like, you know, one kind of weapon gets less accurate as it degrades, another one loses damage as it degrades, then this right here, we're going to want to do something like new bullet, don't write this because this isn't real, new bullet.getComponent, bullet behavior, and then set its damage to, we could, reduce its damage by 0.5. This is not how we'd write it probably, but that kind of thing.
Same kind of shirt and everything.
Railgun beam is not a kind of bullet behavior, then we can't do that anymore because we're making an assumption.
Just be American Tom.
And since I don't think there's any problem with it, we should just make it a bullet behavior. So we'll already have a damage value built in, and a lifetime as well. But what is a railgun beam actually going to do? It's not going to travel through the world and arrive somewhere. As soon as it's created, it's going to do a raycast, and that's how we're going to figure out who we hit. And there's kind of two steps to this. If you think about, you're going to fire an instant hitting beam that goes through all the enemies and hurts them all, but it doesn't go through walls. When it hits a wall, it's going to stop. In order to figure out which enemies did we hit, let me try and make this visual.
Yes, but he lives in Canada.
We've got this wall here. Let's move the player. In fact, the player can be here, and then let's drag some enemies in. So let's say the player is going to shoot all these enemies. Then, if we fire a beam, if we fire a raycast here, what do we want to do? It's not as simple as firing a raycast that's looking for enemies, because it will just hit one and then tell you. Well, ultimately, you want to fire a beam and find out all the enemies that beam hits. Like, how many did we hit? Who are they? That kind of stuff. We wouldn't want that to tell us all of those four, right? We only want to tell us about the first two. So actually, we first need to fire a beam just to find out how far do we go before we hit a wall? Because we don't have that information right off the bat, right? We don't have an automatic way of knowing, if I shoot a laser from my eyes, how far does the laser travel before it hits the wall?
Isn't that the raycast we just did?
Shoot a laser out here, figure out where we hit a wall, then with that distance, let's shoot another laser, this time looking for enemies, but only go that far. Don't go beyond the wall. And then tell us about all the enemies we hit. So, step one, fire a laser.
I'm not sure why that can't be one step, but okay.
We hit a wall, and that's going to be really
about to find out.
Guard behavior code here, right? I'm going to copy this entire thing, paste it here, and it's going to have a bunch of errors. So we still do want to start from our transform position. Vector to player is no longer the direction we want to go. In fact, let's copy and paste we had a guide here, didn't we? This comment guides us. So the first thing is starting point, and the next thing is direction. What direction do we want to go in? We actually just want to go forwards. Transform dot forwards. The direction we're facing. Remember, all our weapon has done is pointed us in the right direction. We, as a beam, we're not going to shoot off in that direction, but we are facing the right direction, so we're going to fire the beam in that direction. How far do we want to go? We want to go a long distance, 1,000, because we're looking for walls, and so the question you're asking yourself is how far, if we don't hit a wall, how far should we keep going before we just give up checking? And so if we have a missing wall on our level and we just shoot off into infinity, we don't want to go infinitely far, because then our game would hang, it would get lock up, the maths would be going on forever. But at the same time, we don't want to, probably our level is no bigger than 10 right now, but if we put 10 there and then we make a bigger level, then that becomes...
I think we want this not to be inverted.
It's always worrying to write... These are called magic numbers when you just write a number in your code. Like if you write 1, that's fine. If you write 0, that's fine. Those are fundamental numbers that you use in a lot of different ways.
This is indeed magic number stuff.
Or 64 or something. Programmers frown upon that because... well, there's many reasons, but one that I agree with is now when I look at this code, it's not clear to me what that is. What is that doing there? 1,000. Just what does that mean? Not even why did you pick 1,000 or why do you think 1,000 is as far as we ever need to go, but just what even is that? Which variable is that? So I am going to, back in our references class, let's just make it a global thing. Because if our claim is that a level will never be bigger than 1,000 units, then we will want to refer to that later. That'll come up a bunch of times. We have this in Tactical Breach Wizards, there's a concept of what is the biggest distance that can be in a level, and that is a constant that many different things need to refer to, and so we make it public and static. There's a float, which is just a big number. Max distance in a level equals 1,000. So we're still writing in a magic number, but we're only writing it as one place and we're giving it a name, and then when we refer to it, it's clearer what we're doing. Where were we? Railgun beam. So instead of 1,000, we're going to write references dot max distance in a level. Walls layer, that's still correct, isn't it? We do want to check against walls. But now just asking, did we hit anything? That's not the information we need. We're firing this laser as far as it will go, and just knowing that we did hit a wall is no good to us. We need to know how far we went before we hit the wall. This is the issue, right? We want to know this distance. Right now, if we just say if raycast
Exactly.
then also, yeah, it did.
Exactly, Sai, you got it.
Okay. Let me rephrase. How
That's
far
genius
you have
level
to go
shit
with the
right there.
and there is a way of doing that. And it. Remember when I showed you there were 16 different versions of this function that you can call it 16 different ways? Well, we are going to use a different one. And don't write this until I actually check that I'm guessing correctly. I'm going to write raycast hit info. In fact, out raycast hit. Okay, that worked. Okay, so this is after position, the origin of the ray. After the direction, we insert a new parameter, a new argument that we're passing into this function. And it's a very special one. I don't think we've ever done this before. And it's quite rare to do it, but it's extremely useful. And like I say, raycasts come up a lot, and you always need this, usually. Always usually need this. And I will edit our comment to clarify what this is.
Interesting. So this tells us...
Define a new variable.
Returns a variable of
about
what was hit.
Happened when the ray hit something. And the rest of the variables are what they were before. Distance
Cool.
And layer mask. So, yeah, in the middle of calling this function, we actually declared a new variable. You might recognize this format where we declare a type. A raycast hit is a type of variable that just stores... Oh, in fact, when you mouse over it tells you. Structure used to get information back from a raycast. Structure just means type of variable. Because we're doing this very strange thing of like in the middle of calling the raycast hotline, we're saying like, hey, here's the ray we want you to check. And when you have the info, can you send that to me? Can you just send that to me and in an envelope and label it hit info? And that's why we need the word out, because we're saying we actually want to get something out of this. Beyond, I think this will still return true or false, like it did before.
But what is that info like?
But I don't think we need to. Yeah, I don't think we need to. Just to like demonstrate that out does something special. I'm going to remove the if, so we're just running this line. Like I say, it will return true or false, but we don't need the true or false. We need the hit info. And now I'll declare a new float for distance to wall, and that's going to equal hit info dot distance. So this is what we were after. We wanted to know how far do we go before we hit a wall. In fact, yeah, that's what we say right here. And so I'm storing that in a variable called distance to wall. How do we get it? Well, it's that hit info thing we asked for. When we called the raycast, when we called the physics hotline and asked it to do a raycast, we said, just figure out everything about where this raycast hits and send that to me in an envelope. And we're going to get like, a dossier on everything about how this raycast hits something. And we're going to get a barycentric coordinate. I don't know what that is. We don't need that. We're going to get the collider hit. We're going to get the distance we have to travel before we hit it. We're going to get a light map coordinate. Don't know what that is. We're going to hit normal, which is something. We're going to get a normal, which is something to do with the angle at which it hits something. Point will be the position in space that it hit. The rigid body, the texture coordinate, all this information. All we need right now is just the distance. But obviously when we want to damage enemies, that's the kind of thing we want to get back, right? Actually, we're not going to use quite that same method, but still. So that was step one. And now step two is a new laser, only going that far, but checking for enemies this time. And I think we're going to not do step two just yet, because first I want to show you that step one works. And how am I going to show this laser at all? That's a good question. Open up railgun beam, and I am just going to... We don't want it to be a physical thing, right? It's not going to be an object that flies through the air. So I'm going to remove that box collider. I'm going to remove that rigid body. I'm going to remove the mesh renderer. That's what we're...
Golly, jeez. All right. We're removing things. Let's go. Yeah.
Seeing there. I'm not really sure what mesh filter is, but I'm going to remove it. All we want is just transform railgun beam. That's the only things. But I'm going to add a new thing called a line renderer. A line renderer is for rendering lines. Rendering just means drawing, just showing.
Oh wow!
Show a line. It's created a weird pink square, which is not at all what we had in mind. But this is actually a line, and I'll show you how that works. So line renderer's got all this information about the line. There's this positions thing. This is actually a drop-down list. They hide it pretty well, but it is there. And it's a list of positions. Each one is a vector, so it's got 3 coordinates. And right now it's going from 0, 0, 0 to 0, 0, 1. If we increase that to 10, now you can see it's a line, right? It's just a very thick line.
Mine is pretty different to his, I think.
And let's, in order to get a better handle on what we've got here, let's put it in the scene. So let's get out of this prefab. And I'm going to drag it from the project
Let's
folder
not.
into
I
the
need
world.
to. I need to review.
Yeah, so there's a slightly weird thing where its coordinates, the beam is happening at 0, 0, and I am just going to, we don't want it to be a physical thing, right? It's not going to be an object that flies through the air. So I'm going to remove that box collider, I'm going to remove that rigid body, I'm going to remove the mesh renderer, that's what we're seeing there. I'm not really sure what a mesh filter is, but I'm going to remove it. All we want is just transform railgun beam, that's the only things. But I'm going to add a new thing called a line renderer. A line renderer is for rendering lines. Rendering just means drawing, just showing.
Yeah, he got. It even has a different icon. Did I have the wrong one? No, it's the only one. Like that. Use a world space loop. Tolerance. Okay. Use world space. Yes. Okay. Let's cautiously continue.
Show a line. It's created a weird pink square, which is not at all what we had in mind, but this is actually a line, and I want to show you how that works. So a line renderer has got all this information about the line. There's this positions thing. This is actually a drop-down list. They hide it pretty well, but it is there. And it's a list of positions. Each one is a vector, so it's got 3 coordinates. And right now it's going from 0, 0, 0 to 0, 0, 1. If we increase that to 10, now you can see it's a line, right? It's just a very thick line.
Yeah? Ah! There it is. Okay.
And let's, in order to get a better handle on what we've got here, let's put it in the scene. So let's get out of this prefab. And I'm going to drag it from the project folder into the world. Yeah, so there's a slightly weird thing where its coordinates, the beam is happening at 0, 0, 0. Let me get this things up again. Yeah, it's happening 0, 0, 0 to 0, 0, 10.
Oh.
Not where we put the object. These are absolute coordinates. They're not relative to where the thing is. That doesn't matter, because we're not going to set this manually in the inspector. We're going to do this in code when we fire the beam.
Yeah.
But just to illustrate it, where is our player right now? Let's simplify this so that they're at Z minus 10. Okay, or minus 12. In our railgun beam, you don't need to do this, but I'm just doing this to illustrate something. This is going to be, is that right? Yeah. Okay, this is what it's going to look like when we fire it. And the reason I wanted to set this up is so that we can see that why it looked wrong. Oh yeah, we would need this to be 1.5. Again, we're not going to need these values. We're not going to type anything in like this. I just want to show basically what a line renderer is.
Yeah, I got it.
Right, and it looks bright pink. I just told you that bright pink usually means something's missing. Let's create a new material for this. So right-click in project, create material. Then let's assign it right away. Oh no, let's call it.
Material. Beam material.
Beam material. And now go back to our railgun prefab and to assign a material to a line renderer, it's this little drop-down list here, because you can have more than one material in it. We don't need that, but let's just drag that in here.
Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Okay.
Ooh, that looks weird, doesn't it? It's like a shiny white beam now. That's why I wanted to drag it in now, so that when we edit, going back to this beam material, when we edit this, we can see how it changes. So we're going to go to
particles. So sorry. I just gonged the shit out of the microphone. Deep apology.
Same thing we did for explosions. Now it's a nice bright thing. And rendering mode, I want it to be additive again. And then I guess maybe we leave that as is. If I change this to explosions, beam material. And now go back to our railgun prefab and to assign a material to a line renderer, it's this little drop-down list here, because you can have more than one material in it. material. When we edit this, we can see how it changes. So we're going to go back to particles unlit, same thing we did for explosions. Now it's a nice bright thing. And rendering mode, I want it to be additive again. And then I guess maybe we leave that as is. If I change this, does that actually work? Oh yeah, it does. Let me just see, because there's another way of setting the color, and it's better if we can do it that way. Railgun beam. Okay, so it's a bit thick, isn't it? Here's the width thing. We can just drag this line down, make it a bit more reasonable. Can I edit this while looking at it in that view? I think I can. Yeah, if you single click it, you can edit this, the prefab, while you're looking at the game view. And it has no effect. Okay, I take it back. Double click on railgun beam. We'll do it here. What I was mainly interested in is, okay, the color. We probably want it to be like red or something. I don't know, could be whatever. But when we click on color, it's a special color editor. If I just click here and make that red, okay, this does work. That's what I wanted to check. So yeah, we leave the material white and we can set the color here. The reason that's kind of cool is we can do stuff like we can have it go from this gradient thing's a bit weird. I'll just show you how I'm going to do my specific way of doing it.
This is just like Photoshop.
This end is the start of the beam, and this end is the end of the beam, and you can change either color, and it'll blend between them. So we can do like a phase from red to blue.
Yeah.
The important thing from my perspective is this top ones, these are for the alpha. And so we can set the initial alpha to 0. And that way the start of the beam is not very obvious. That's going to be good because if you're moving around and firing these beams, the start point is going to be this weird anomaly. It's going to look strange if it's not
cool.
transparent. This is purely cosmetic thing. You don't need to do this actually. I just like the way it looks, but I don't really like that blue. I'm going to change that to red.
Okay, jeez.
Okay. So
You said red, and you picked orange. Why, Tom? Tom, why you like this?
Now can I see it in the scene? Yeah. Okay, that looks cool.
Right.
Okay, all of which is just to have some way of seeing this beam in action. And in order to access it, we're going to have a public, this is back in our railgun beam, line renderer my beam. And then to set its positions, we now, I'll make this step 3, show the beam. My beam.positions, no sorry, set position. My beam.set position. And we want to set position 0 to transform.position to us. So the first position on the line is where we are. And then the second position on the line, which is number 1, because of programmers, is going to be transform position plus, open brackets, transform.forward times distance to wall. So I open brackets there because what I want to do is say, we need to know where does this, oh wait, no, ignore me, let's do this a better way. I bet we can just do hitinfo.point. Where did we hit the wall? Just tell us the point where we hit the wall. Sorry, and we don't need transform.position plus, this is just, starting position is where we are, end position is where did we hit the wall. That was in our package of information we got back from the hotline. So that ought to work. The other thing I was writing was just a way of calculating that from the distance, but there's no reason to do that since we have that information anyway. I better turn off this railgun beam. I guess the enemies can stay.
Okay. I guess we're testing this now. We didn't set... Oh yeah, these go right through that because of the physics setting. It's using the rifle bullet, so... It really ought to use the railgun beam. I don't know if he did that or not. Maybe he did. Ah! Oh. Oh, right. And on top of that, my beam. Like that. Ooh. Ooh. It doesn't do anything to anybody, but it is cool. And it doesn't shoot through walls. That's awesome.
Oh, hang on, sorry. There's one more thing we need to do. Our railgun object in the world.
Two more
right now
things,
it's got a
Tom.
fire rifle bullet. So let's drag a railgun beam into its bullet slot, and that should work.
Nope.
Okay, so here's where we put it. And it crashes. That's because railgun beam. We didn't set the line renderer to anything, did we? We created a slot for it, but we didn't make a reference. So I'm going to drag line renderer into that my beam slot. Hey, there it is. That looks kind of cool. And walls do stop it. And it's pretty clear what you're doing. You're making a disco. Oh, I picked up the rifle by accident. And it doesn't hurt anybody yet. But it does kind of feel good. Okay, so last thing we need to do is actually hit the enemies, which is going to be
Cool.
Another raycast.
Let's hit those fuckers.
This time, what's the difference? This time we don't want to go... I'm just going to write a different variable name just so it stops complaining about that, because we don't want to define the same variable twice. So one of the differences is that instead of going to the max distance and level, we only want to go to distance to wall. So remember, that's the whole principle, is that we are, back to our scene, we first find out how far is it to the wall, and then our next beam is only going to go that far. Because by default, the ray isn't not going to stop when it hits things, necessarily. It's going to go through them. And then the other thing is, references wall layer. No, that's not what we want anymore. Let's go to our references class, copy and paste this, a new layer for enemies layer. And it's going to be the same thing, but we're going to look for enemies.
You're gonna have to make a layer thing. There you are. Don't yell at me. Stop this. Do you want to set layer to enemies for all child objects as well? um...
And what's on the enemies layer? Let's go back to Unity and tell it. Let's tell it that enemy. Double click the enemy prefab. Do this with the prefab, not enemies in the scene. Add a new layer. Type in enemies. Go back to it again because it hasn't actually done it. Set it there. And then we've got another kind of enemy, haven't we? We've got the guard. Double click that. Layer enemies. And when you do that, it's going to say, oh, actually this has child objects. Do you want those to be on this layer? And we do. Because the child object, that's the cylinder, that's the actual collider thing, and it's the collider that matters when you're looking at layers. Like the thing the raycast actually hits is the collider. It's not the game object exactly, or the rigid body. Sort of makes sense, doesn't it? Colliders are the things that get collided with. And now both our enemies are on the enemy layer, so that's all correct. Yeah, I'm going to do this in a naive way that isn't going to completely work. Change this reference to references.enemies layer. And so now we could say if new hit info.collider is not equal to null. Don't write this because this is going to be wrong, and I'm going to show you why it's wrong, and then write the better code.
Cool.
But yeah, this is just working with what we know. We could look at the collider we hit, and if it's not equal to null, then let's do new hit info.collider. Can we just do get component from there? Yes. Get component enemy behavior brackets. Is that what we want? No, actually, let's look for the health system because that's what we're going to damage, isn't it? Health system dot take damage. I'm just going to write 5 in there. No, we should write the word damage. So this is going to do a raycast just like we did before, but now we're looking for enemies. We're only going as far as the wall.
Aren't we going to need to do a loop?
Check. Did we find something? Did we hit a collider at all?
Because you could hit multiple.
Well, this is fine because it's just temporary. If we did get a collider, then tell its health system to take some damage. We're making an assumption that it has a health system, and that's wrong, but we don't care for now,
Yeah,
because I want to
yeah.
show you why this isn't the right way to do it. And I've got to remember that our railgun beam, we need to set damage because it doesn't have any yet, so let's just set that to 10. So the railgun beam prefab, giving it damage value. Let me see how that works. Okay, actually it works fine. But what it's doing is it's only hitting the first target.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's fine, you could make a weapon like that, but yeah, I think it's worth fixing this now.
Yes.
So we want to know everything.
You promised.
And there is...
You gave us your word.
What this is actually doing is returning the first thing that we hit. And it would also crash if we shot a guard. Because we're assuming that what we hit has a health system, and the collider on a guard doesn't. This would be... I would go through and fix this and make this work if we only wanted to hit the first guy, but actually we want to hit everything. So there's a thing called Raycast All.
Okay.
No, there isn't. Yeah, there is. Why did it not complete? Okay, it just didn't like the arguments, I guess. And so Raycast All is... we can use it in roughly the same way, but we're not going to get hit info back. And we're not going to get hit info back because it's going to hit multiple things, and so it can't give us a single package of information.
We're going to get
Instead, it's going to return
an array or something, right?
It gives us back... So Raycast Hit is the variable type that these packages of information, these dossiers on everything, on what got hit and all the information about the thing that got hit and where it got hit and all that stuff. That's a Raycast Hit. Raycast All actually returns a list of those. Those little square brackets, I can't point to it. Oh, I can point to it. Those square brackets mean that it's kind of like a list. It's called an array. We don't need to worry about it too much because we're going to use a sort of fancy way of... We want to go through all the things this returns. This is going to return a list, and we could sort of store it as a list and then loop through it, but actually we can just do for each Raycast hit enemy hit info in, then all of that. And we'll do basically just replace that with the new variable name, enemy hit info. Yeah, okay, so that was a little bit complicated, but it wasn't too many lines of code. So what this says is, where have we used lists before? Let me find... I want to just relate this back to something we've done before. Oh yeah, this was in weapon behavior, and what do we do with it? Did we ever loop through the list? Maybe we never looped through the list.
It's right there, Tom.
No, I guess not. Okay, so this is new. I didn't mean to replace that. Okay. I'll write a simpler example. In fact, yeah, okay. Let me show you how this would work if we were going to loop through all of our weapons. So let's say, in our player behavior code, right now we fire the selected weapon when you click. If we wanted to fire all the weapons, we could do for each weapon behavior this weapon in weapons, and then we could do this weapon dot fire. That is code that would fire all our weapons at once. So it says
It's like
for each
the
weapon
8
in our weapon list,
in
fire.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
This is how you write it. You say for each, and then the type of variable you want. You create a new variable name here. This is really declaring a variable, but it's a special kind of variable. It's going to change each time we loop through the list. And so for each weapon in weapons, and weapons is the name of our weapon list, we want to fire it. So I'm just going to, maybe I'll bring that over in a comment just so we have it for reference. Oh my god, that really messed up. Okay. I just wanted to give a simpler example because this one is kind of weird, because what we're doing here, so this part is still the same. For each Raycast hit, enemy hit info, this is saying each individual thing, we're going to call it an enemy hit info, and it's going to be a Raycast hit type of thing. And then all of this is the list. I don't know, I was hoping that would be simpler to understand than me defining a new list. Maybe it isn't. I guess let's just show it to you both ways, because I could easily do that. Raycast.
Yeah, I get it, dude. I get it.
List of hit info equals that. Does that work? Yes. Okay, let's do it this way.
That was my initial
it's just easy to
inclination.
read. I've made kind of a monster line of code there, haven't I? Okay, so to make it simpler, first I was trying to avoid explaining to you what an array is, because it's very much like a list, and normally you don't need to use them. But in this case, this function returns an array of hit infos. So let's store that in a variable. We declare a new array of Raycast hits called list of hit info, and then we say that equals Raycast physics.raycast all with all those variables that we used before, including the distance to wall. That's going to give us a list of everything we hit, and then we're going to loop through that list for each bit of information in that list, find its collider, find a health system, and give it some damage. That line of code is also not perfect, but we will get to it. This is, to be honest, we're kind of at the stage of the game where nothing is completely simple. So everything I try and break off as an individual lesson ends up being a bit thorny when I really get into it. But this, like I say, raycast is super useful, and you'll use them all.
Still gonna crash, right,
so
Tom?
I'm hoping that it's actually very hard to tell because our enemies explode and destroy each other. Let me. Is there a simple way to fix that? Could I make?
Set explosion damage to nothing.
Yeah, there is a simple way to fix that. I could just say, you don't need to do this. I'm just going to turn off the death effect for now, so that you can see
Or
that. If I shoot one, that shoots one. But if I shoot a line, it should hit a whole bunch of them. Yeah, hits load of them. It is hitting all of them. It might look like we're missing some, but that's just because it's a very thin line. It's basically an infinitely thin line. And our camera angle, we're quite zoomed out. It's a little bit hard to judge.
Yeah.
And we can fix that. Feels pretty good. So I'm afraid there are 2 more things to fix. I'm really determined not to leave this like in this half-finished state because we're always starting episodes catching up with all the things we broke last time. Just once I want to actually end on finished code. Let me show you what the actual problem is.
That's awesome.
If I take this laser and I shoot a guard, the game crashes. Because, like I say, we made an assumption here that the collider we hit has a health system on it. Actually, we don't know that. What we should say instead is get component in parent. Because that is... We did this before, didn't we? Let me see. Remind us when we did this before. It was for picking up a weapon. So when we collide with a bit of a weapon, we don't assume the collider has a weapon behavior on it.
Remember,
we look for a weapon behavior in its parent or the
everything is its own parent, right?
And so we'll do that here too. So instead of get component, we just do get component in parent. This was a bit of a monster line, wasn't it? I thought I was going to replace it, but now we're actually using it. I'm just going to split this up into something more readable. So we could declare a new health system. Their health system equals...
We have the God gun now.
And then their health system dot take damage. So that makes...
Okay. You don't want it to be a monster line anymore. Isn't this a much more monster line? I'm being hyperbolic, by the way, Tom. I love everything you do. Please don't hate me.
Makes it a bit more readable, right? First we look for a health system on the collider that we reached, or in their parent, and then once we have it, we take damage. We could check if it's null, but actually, let's do that, because that's good practice. If their health system not equal to null, then we will take damage. In our case, because the only things on the enemy layer all have health systems, this isn't strictly necessary, but it is good practice. That's why we've got a crash just then, instead of it just not damaging the enemy. Oh wow, it just deletes them. That's good, but it should be... let's have it only do 5 damage instead of 10. So open up our railgun beam, 5 instead of 10 damage. Okay, now I'm trying to decide, do we care that it's fiddly to hit them all? I guess we don't care about that, because once I restore that death effect, hopefully you don't need to do this because you didn't remove it in the first place, but I did. It's still annoying that you miss a lot. You do miss a lot. Okay, we're gonna fix this. Sorry, I appreciate this is getting long now. It's just that there's quite a neat way to fix it, which is, so the reason we're missing a lot is it's a ray cast, and a ray is infinitely thin. We're casting a very, very narrow beam. And intuitively, our beam doesn't look narrow, it looks like it has width. And so we're seeing there's some cases where it looks like it should have hit and it didn't. But luckily, there's something called sphere cast all. Is it going to let me do that? Sphere cast all, and then all that needs is an extra.
I think he's fixing the wrong thing here, but
which we can say is 0.3f.
So
this is just radius. So basically thickness, and in fact, let's call it that. Beam thickness equals 0.3f. Let's just sort of guess at how thick our beam is in world coordinates, 30 centimeters wide, or actually 60 centimeters wide. and we put that in there. Again, I'm just naming the variable so it's clear what it means in context. So instead of raycast, we are going to do a sphere cast, which means basically instead of a single laser pointer, we sort of take like taking a ball and moving it through space and saying, what does this ball hit? That's why it's called sphere cast. But it probably makes more sense to think of it as like a pipe going through space, and that'll have a bit of thickness to it. Hopefully that's going to feel a lot better.
Excuse me. I missed the part where you actually made that change.
So this is just radius. So basically thickness. And in fact, let's call.
Okay. There we go.
Call it that. Beam thickness equals 0.3 f. Let's just sort of guess at how thick our beam is
This
in
will
world
just
coordinates.
basically feel the same for me.
60 centimeters wide. And we put that in there. Again, I'm just naming the variable so it's clear what it means in context. So instead of raycast, we are going to do a sphere cast, which means basically instead of a single laser pointer, we sort of take like taking a ball and moving it through space. And
It does feel better though, generally.
Sphere cast. But
it's biased for the player.
Going through space, and that will be
just good.
To it. Hopefully that's going to
Ultra preciseness often doesn't feel the best with stuff like this.
All good so far. Yeah, when you have like a thick wall of enemies like that, you kind of want a shot through them to hit. Yeah, that feels way better. Okay, cool. God, sorry, that was really long. My practice was really fast, but that's because I wasn't explaining anything. And in a bold move, I decided to actually explain what I was doing in this episode. That is raycasts. Thank you for sticking with it. Sorry it got long. And next time we'll work on field.
Excellent tutorial.
Should make our game a lot more fun. Hello. Having said last time that I was determined to actually fully finish something in an episode, I did realise right after I stopped recording that we didn't finish the beams for the railgun. This episode is actually going to be we're starting on feel, and the two most important ingredients for that, in my opinion, are sound and screen shake. We're going to do both of those. For this kind of game, anyway, those are the two most important things. So we're going to get both of those started, at least. Make some good first steps on that front. But we need to do the railgun thing first, because the issue, let me see if it will...
Right.
If everything's in the state that I think it is.
Nobody can blame Tom for this situation.
We've got a railgun here, we fire it, and these lasers just stay around forever, which is unfortunate. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is, so our railgun beam, I'm just opening a code file here. I am going to reload that. And, okay, I lost it briefly. Shall I increase my font size? Can I do that easily? If I go to options, it's quite small even for me. Everything's got reset because Windows has kind of reinstalled itself. It did an update that was so drastic it kind of lost its memory and decided I need to set up Windows for the first time again. Yeah, I'm actually going to make it really big because that'll be easier.
Yes. My hero.
So, our railgun beam inherits from bullet behavior.
Everybody loves the Tom.
What we said is that a railgun beam is it's a subset of bullets. It's a type of bullet. And that's cool, but actually it doesn't inherit anything really currently. Or at least its update, we have an update function here, but it's just its own update. It's defined here and it does nothing. Whereas, I'm going to jump to bullet behavior here by holding down control and clicking on it. We jump to bullet, and in the bullets update code, it counts down its seconds until destroyed, and then when that's 0, it destroys itself. It also shrinks itself, which is not a thing we want to do exactly, but it doesn't matter if we inherit that because it's fine. So I don't know if you remember this, but this was one of the weirder lines of code we ever wrote, but if you want something in a parent to be inherited by the child, then you have to make it protected, virtual. So protected means that it can be accessed by our children, but no one else, and virtual means this might be overridden. Might not. Virtually all the things are going to use this. Some of them might override it. And then after saving that, we go into railgun beam, and I'm actually just going to delete update, and then I'm going to write override update. And as soon as I get there, it suggests the autocomplete. As soon as I hit enter, it's not only going to complete that, but it also inserts the word protected because it knows it has to be protected because if you're going to override some other function, it has to have the same access modifier, which is what that word is called. Anyway, it does it for you because it's the right thing to do. And it also helpfully inserts base.update, which means that is the bit that's going to do all the bullet behavior stuff. So we can choose whether to do that or not. I think we should do it because it involves the countdown thing, which is that's what we want. And then the only other thing I want to do is make our beam fade out over time. I'll add a note here saying this will handle ticking down our life count, life timer, and killing us. But while that's happening, we want to fade our beam out. And there are... We could do something where like we sort of store the full lifetime and then divide our current lifetime by that to get a fraction and then use that to modify the thing of the beam. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to make it fade. At a rate that will be somewhat arbitrary, matter of opinion. But this effect is not important, so it's just we can do it in one line of code, so we should.
I agree.
And that line of code is, Tom, the one that you remember from when you did it earlier. It's nothing to do with the beam. It's my beam dot... is it as simple as end color? Yes, it is. It's as simple as end color. So our beam goes from us to the target.
Are we gonna
and
are we
the way
gonna
we
lerp
set it up,
again?
I guess I'll show this in the inspector.
We're gonna
as I
lerp
run
it?
Prefab. Double click that. After a delay of unknown duration, we set up this color gradient thing here. If I click this, it starts transparent and it ends solid. And what I want to do is make that solid color fade out. I want it to fade to completely clear. There's a bunch of different ways we can do that, but I think the
We're gonna
simplest is
lerp
just to
the
say,
alpha.
if I wrote, so that's the end color because it's where
Lerp probably doesn't work
it's
on
the end
this
and
because
the
that's
start
for
is where we are.
transforms, right?
If I wrote just color.clear, that would make the thing go immediately clear. We don't want that, obviously. I'm just going to put my phone on silent. It's already on silent. Okay, I'm going to throw my phone away. That will help. So we don't want to go clear immediately, obviously. What we want it to do is to fade between its current color and clear. And to do that, we've used lerps before, haven't we? I'm not sure in what context.
Yay!
You can lerp between two numbers, but you can also lerp between two colors. So we call the color hotline, and we say, can you tell us what the, I was going to say midpoint, but it's not necessarily the midpoint. Can you tell us what color we get if we blend between the clear color and our current end color by how much? Let me think. It's just going to be like a fixed figure. We're just going to do, this is a really common pattern that I'll use several times in this episode that I really like, which is just multiplying. If you just multiply your current, if it was a brightness value, if you just multiply it by 0.9 every frame, it's going to fade out. And it's going to fade out in a really nice way where the bigger it is, the faster it fades out. And then as it gets fainter, it's going to get slower. Because you're effectively reducing by 10% every frame. And that sounds like quite small, but frames obviously happen very often, so that it adds up very fast. I'm only hesitating here because what do I want to do? Let's say, if I say
I agree,
0.9
food, but
there,
it's
0.9
fine.
to specify it with a float value. What does this say? We said we want to lerp from the color clear to
For
the color
this right now.
that we currently are, and we want to go 90% of the way there every frame. Arguably, that's a slightly backwards way of doing it, isn't it? Because we're not really going from clear to solid. We're going from solid to clear. So if I do it that way around, we're going from our current color to clear. We only want to go 10% of the way each frame. Let's see how that looks. I think it might be, we might want to actually make this slightly smaller. If this doesn't work, I'm going to do it the other way around, because I did it the other way around in my practice session. As I wrote it, I realized it doesn't make as much sense. It's not as intuitive, but it did work, which is a strong advantage of any given approach. Yeah, that is, oh, wait. The reason that is fading out immediately, apart from anything else, is in our railgun prefab, we never set seconds until destroyed. This is this quality that inherited from bullets. We left it at 0, which is actually kind of weird, isn't it? Because we had a property, what's the word, variable, called seconds until destroyed, and it was 0. It sounds like we're going to destroy it instantly, but it wasn't getting destroyed instantly because we weren't inheriting that ticking down property. I keep saying the word property. We weren't inheriting that ticking down behavior that the bullet had. Now that we are, we need to set that value, and it's good to set that anyway. Hey, look at that. That's what we want. Start strong, fades out. That feels about right, doesn't it? Cool. So, we've caught up. That is what we should have done at the end of last episode. I'm not sorry I didn't.
I feel like I'd make it even a little bit slower to fade.
So, let's make some sounds first.
Because it's still like, it's happening so
place
fast.
that I used for sounds for my first game, Gunpoint, is freesound.org, and I recommend it. It's just a really nice place where people post sound effects with...
There's clearly something incorrect here. Because seconds until destroyed, I just set it to 30. Oh. Okay, actually. Wow, what a wild effect. It gets away from being bright very quickly. That killed me. They're bumping each other. How did they get into this state? Oh, is it because they're not moving now? That's so funny. Is that just like an after effect I'm getting on my monitor? There's still a line there. Maybe that's just me. Do y'all see that? Okay, you do see it. Okay, so it's not like a ghost. Like, my monitor isn't turning to shit on me. And that never goes away. The rate is governed by lerp. Yeah, but I mean, I guess just... Hold on. Like, why is seconds until destroyed? Oh. Right, yeah. It implies something that isn't. Yeah, the fade is unrelated to the destruction. I was conflating them together because I am a silly goose. But it did seem to make it behave differently. Maybe I'm a simpleton. I think Tom's conflating it together too. Because he set that number and he's like, yes, this seems good. But that number, it cuts it off. It cuts off the fade. Right? Technically. Like the full fade, you need what? What did he set it to? He set it to 2. Whoops. Right, yeah. Okay. Nope. I mean, it does fully go away. Whatever. No, yeah, I don't want it sitting around forever. It's good. It's a cool weapon. I really like this. This is very awesome. Good job, Tom. This is so cool, man. It makes me want to make like an old school tank game, you know? Be very easy to use a lot of the same stuff that's been established here to make a good old fashioned little tank maneuvers game. Yeah, it's very much in a sort of good enough territory, yeah. Oh boy, here we go.
Varying licenses.
Go into
but
the
most of them
old
are
free
under
sound.
the Creative Commons Attribution License, or let's see if I can find one, the public domain license. So you need to create an account here, which is actually, it's free, as the name implies. It's worth creating an account. I would do it even if I didn't have to do it, because it's really handy, because if I click here, I can see all the sounds I've downloaded. And that's super useful for crediting, because this is why I'm talking about licenses and stuff. We're just going to take sounds from here. We only want to take ones that we're allowed to use, and we want to credit everybody that we take them from. So we're going to note down everyone we use a sound from, and when we have credits, we'll put them in the credits. Don't release your game in between adding any sounds and doing the credits. So the things we want, I want a sound for the railgun, I want just a regular gun sound, and probably one for the shotgun, and then like an explosion sound for things dying. Just checking things are recording. And I found all these earlier, so I'm just going to jump straight to them. Although as I do, I'll double check the licenses, because I don't know if I verified all of these. What is this? This is a short explosion. I didn't do a test of. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to mute my desktop audio, because you're probably going to hear that sound through my microphone, and you don't want to get it twice, right? So that's an explosion sound. It's from Animation Isaac, and the worker's license of the Creative Commons 0 license. Creative Commons 0 is public domain, that's what it means. And it actually means you don't have to credit them, but you should, because you just should. I believe you should credit everyone pretty much without exception. Creative Commons 0 is like, you can get away with not crediting them, but why not? Like, you should, because you need credits anyway, because you're bound to use some stuff that isn't under that license. And I just think if you accuse someone else's work in your thing, you should name them, because if you don't, it's not that they're going to get mad necessarily. Like, they've obviously intentionally released under that license. They know that they don't have to be credited. But you're just lying, aren't you? Like, if you just release the work and you don't say anyone else was involved, people will think you did it all. If you didn't do it all, you should say so. Anyway, that's a lot of ranting, given that we're actually not going to make credits this episode, because I just don't have time to squeeze that in as well as everything else. But it will be on our list. In fact, I'll write it down now. Let's do credits. And that dinging is my phone, sorry. I tried to silence it. It didn't work.
I'm debating on whether I want
to
do this or not. Because we are very close to the end of the evening. And this is going to be launching into a whole separate world of stuff. And believe me, I don't want to stop. But I also don't want to start something that I'm going to have to like stop in the middle of. Numbing. But yes, this is very cool. I'm so hype about this. Like the progress and so much stuff I feel like I've learned already so quickly. It's obviously going to take more work for it to sink in fully. You know, I'm going to have to make a lot of little throwaway prototype things, you know, playing around and get the swing of doing this stuff without having to constantly, you know, look up a tutorial or whatever. But I think I'm going to pick it up very quickly, much more quickly than I ever imagined. Like this is, I loathe to think about all the time I spent with Pygame. Um, Nothing that you do like that is really wasted time, but I swear it honestly, like compared to doing this, it sure feels like wasted time. This is completely blows away everything um, that I had done before this point. So I absolutely think I could definitely do that. No. Yeah, it is. It's all part of the process. How many bullets before your CPU crashes? Well, our bullets delete themselves, so I can't really do that anymore unless I turn that off. Or do you mean these guys? Did you mean enemies? How many enemies before the game crashes? I'll tell you what. Or actually, oh right. Oops. Yes, I am the Lord.
Lots of red dots.
Lots of red dots. Tony, thank you for 67 months. Very much appreciated, my friend. What the fuck? Oh my god, it's like it's World War Z, dude. They're using each other's bodies to pile up and get over the wall. Oh man, don't get surrounded, right? Don't get surrounded. It's starting to chug at this point. They are hungry for me. Getting down to we're under 20 FPS now. Oh, the physics of me trying to slide along the wall, it's not happy. It didn't like that. Down to 10 FPS. We are under 10 FPS. I'm going to have to shoot them soon because we're really running out of frames here. We are running out of frames. This needs optimization really bad. We're also running out of room on the board. Oh man, they're not all going to go either. Oh, that explosion got me. Whoa! Oh, and then we have the infinite explosion bug. That was so cool. Yeah, I waited too long and I was too close to the explosion. Ow, dude. Gotta control the swarm. I don't like this little extra cluster, but I don't want to set them off because it might set everything off too early, ruin everything. It's so cool that they end up piling up and going over the wall. I love that. It's amazing. All right, I'm going to set them off before they get too close to me. Woo! uh, oh yeah, no, I know why it's happening. With the spawn rate that high, the explosion is constantly being fed a new enemy, which starts a new explosion over and over and over and over and over. So it's just that the spawn rate's so high. Never. Oh, yeah. This is very fun. I love this stuff. This is so good. Yeah, maybe I will. I might use I might use sounds from Huskulls. We'll see. But I'm really amazed at where, like, how far we've come already. This is wild, you know? This is something you could honestly call a game already. Obviously, it needs more, but it's arguably the very, 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 very bare bones of an actual game. Yeah, at some point, and this is cool, one of the steps of this tutorial is going to be making this little play field procedurally generated. So it'll be random layouts every time you start it up. So that's coming. I think there will be a score or something. The objective, like the way he's designing it, the objective is that you want to try to steal stuff without alerting the guards. So it's like a stealth action survival thing, and your score is based off of the stuff that you steal. I love that this cuts a swath through large groups, so like it's so lovely. It wouldn't really look like anything in the editor, Flynn. It's far less interesting than you would imagine, right? Because what it amounts to basically is we would still see this. And then when you start the game, the method that you've written to arrange walls or whatever will run. And then
they'll be arranged. So the editor won't actually look different at all. Because when you're not actually running the game, you're not running any code. It would be interesting to do this. I wonder if I could replicate this tutorial in another editor, like try to create the same thing in Unreal and see how it compares, and try to create the same thing in Godot and see how it compares. I thought it was Godot because it's kind of like robot, and their little mascot is a robot, but their official tutorial guy is he pronounces it Godot. So look at what's happening. It's so weird that they don't fall sideways, but I guess that's because oh nope, there they go. The house of cards finally collapsed. Oh, that's funny. Here. It would feel like this. There's a guard. I gotta sneak around him. Okay. Oh! I almost got caught. I got the Uzi. Around him. I got the rifle now. Gonna squeeze by. I've done it. I stole all the weapons. I can't be stopped. There. This has been a simulation of what it would feel like in a first-person perspective. Arguably, it would be very easy to do because I don't want to like break my whole game. I think it would be fairly non-destructive though. Because we're not doing anything with the camera code-wise. So if I were to do this. Okay. And then wait, that didn't do it though. Oh, I lined my view with the okay. Right. Can I do what I want to do? I'll do this. No. Okay. I'll do this. And it's
child of the player. I mean, that might all be all it takes. Oh, okay. So it's sort of mouse look, sort of. Oh God. Oh no, I've been spotted. Oh, I'm gonna die. Okay. So the controls are wonky now. Oh, I've got the railgun. Huh. Okay, I killed them. Oh my God. Okay, I killed the guard. Mm. Mm. The controls are relative, unfortunately. They drive towards the cursor, so like it changes. Ugh, God. Yeah, it's just not set up for this. I just can't drive very well. Oh, I managed to make it through that gap. We are constantly turning a little bit. Whoa. Oh my God. Huh. Okay, I killed them again. God, please. Okay. No. I want the Uzi. Oh, I'm all the way over here now. Did I get the Uzi? I did. Take that, assholes. Yes, this really needs the whole like look at the cursor thing is just really unfortunate. It might just be like a small tweak to make this okay, but like I don't know what that small tweak is off the top of my head. But it's impressive looking, right? For as simple as it is, I mean, basically we have a shooter. Oh, God. It's essentially impossible to control. Yes, we did. So they just sort of float away. Oh yeah, there should be a nightmare of beans building up and coming our way slowly but surely. We can't even see the Uzi model. How surreal does this look? See, this is the stuff to do though. Play around with things. I'm glad you mentioned. Oh God, we're the camera's kind of like stuck in the wall. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned just this whole idea, just playing around with it. Like, I'm shocked that it was as easy as this to essentially make this into a first-person shooter. Not a good one by any means, but surprisingly feasibly a shooter. It's hard to believe. You think one line of code would make it better? Oh. What line of code? It would definitely be in player behavior. Okay. This is the code that points the player at the cursor. Game.cool++. It'll take a couple lines. So what we are doing is we're casting a ray out from let me see here. So we're making a new ray, and then we do camera.main.screen.point2ray input mouse position. And then we create a new plane straight up from the player. Oh, I can't. All right. Lerping between the old look at and the new one. I think that's beyond me. Oh, yeah. I think this is a wee bit beyond me. So like quickly, easily do. Yeah. Turn left and right based off of the input mouse position. So actually we would want that completely commented out. It wants the cursor, it uses this for everything. Because we're not firing straight out of the we're actually firing at the cursor position. Why can't we just curious what this will do. I'm going to learn something. So what does this do to us? Okay, so we can't look anywhere, but we can move now without shit changing on us. Okay, and we can pick up a weapon. It technically I don't know what turned us. Oh, bumping against the wall turned us. Okay, so I think it's always shooting in one direction now. Oh, I'm gonna die. Oh, my position plus. Right. And my position is, what is that? I think it's just transform position. Right? The math stuff of all this is where I'm by far the weakest. Weaker than like just knowing the language. It's very inconsistent. It's not consistently. You see this? It's like we're just rotating randomly around. I don't know if the cursor is having any effect on this. No, it keeps changing. I think so, yeah. Yeah, the gun is forward still. You all need to die so I can leave and go do something else. Oh. Also, there's a side effect that if the player dies, the oh hell, I touched a wall. Oh hell, I activated. Okay. Also, the WASD is relative to it's not relative to which way the player is facing. Hold on a second. I'm back. Okay, I've been seen. Oh, I bumped a wall. Oh, that is working now. It's unfortunate that I can't look. But now I just need to be able to turn the player left and right. Ah, like old school style. New vector. It was like that at one point. I'm trying to remember. So we're doing an input vector. Transform forward times speed. Is that it? the look at. So would that be plus input vector? Well, let's just see what that does. Okay. Okay. Interesting. These would be possibly the weirdest controls possible. Then, and you just multiply the transform right by your dot x of input vector. Well, we have a speed. Yeah, I added input vector in here just to see what it would do. Yeah, this does nothing now. But what about left? Are you just trying to make me spin? Okay. Yeah, like I don't really have a full grasp on the math stuff here. We have a speed of 20. I don't really want to change that. I'm going to try setting this much, much lower. Oh my god. Lower. I was able to turn around and I don't really understand why. Oh, if I hold it down for a long time, then it turns.
Well, unfortunately, this was much more involved than I thought it would be. So I think I'm going to just undo this stuff and go on and get out of here. Chew's getting antsy. But it was an interesting experiment. Oh, now it's that updated on the fly. Oh. All right, let's zoom back out into the sky. Cool. All right, we're back to normal. All is well. All is right with the world. Uh, what I would normally do would probably have been to look up, like, how do I do a first person view camera? Like, what's the setup for that? And just find something that has it kind of pre-canned, ready to go. Yeah, that's gonna do it, my friends. I do appreciate you hanging with me. I hope you've been enjoying these. I've been loving it. This has been really great. I love learning this stuff, and I'm looking forward to doing more. So tomorrow is going to be maybe Space Cops. We'll see. If not, I'll probably do more of this. So, yeah. Thank you for watching. Have a great night. I'll see you next stream.